Chapter 750. Thank you for saving us, Brother Lu. If Brother Lu has time, you can visit the Tianxian sect in the cultivation world of the plains. Although the three of us don't have a high position in the sect, we are still quite famous. When the time comes, Brother Lu can enjoy the beautiful scenery of our Tianxian Mirror Lake. With Lu Ping's help, the three rushing thunder swords broke through the encirclement. When they turned back to look at the battlefield several miles behind them, they saw countless spells and treasures forming a colorful mist that stretched for several miles. The sounds of battle and explosions could be heard even from such a distance. They could not help but feel their hearts palpitate, and at the same time, they felt even more grateful for Lu Ping's help. You are too kind. I have long heard of the reputation of the Tianxian sect. I come from the overseas cultivation world and have not seen much in this small place. When I saw that the three of you came from the Tianxian sect, an existence second only to the 5 great sacred grounds, I could not help but want to get to know you. Please do not blame me for my recklessness. This time, Lu Ping returned to his original appearance. He smiled at the 3 rushing thunder swords and said, I have long heard of the wonders of the Tianxian Mirror Lake. If I am fated to see it, this trip to the Central Plains will not be in vain. Unfortunately, I still have some missions from the sect and need to go to a few places. However, once I complete the missions, I will go to the Tianxian sect to visit the 3 of you. At that time, the 3 of you must recognize me. Lu Ping was not afraid that the 3 of them would expose his lies. Not at all. Brother Lu, you must be joking. How could we dare to forget you saving our lives today? Yun Jian, the leader of the 3 rushing thunder swords, asked with a smile. Brother Lu actually came from the overseas cultivation world. Such skills have impressed us. Are you from the Eastern Sea cultivation world? Lu Ping waved his hand and said anxiously, what do you mean by saving our lives? It was nothing. Even if I did not make a move, I believe that with the 3 rushing thunder swords' strength, you would have been able to break through the encirclement. However, I am not from the Eastern Sea. I am from the Northern Sea cultivation world. I am Jinling's disciple. Northern Sea. Jinling. Among the 3 swords, Lei Jian was a straightforward man. Upon hearing Lu Xian's words, his eyes widened and his face was full of disbelief. He said, if the cultivation world of the Eastern Sea can produce an outstanding talent like Brother Lu, then so be it. How can a barren place like Northern Sea have someone like Brother Lu? Second bro. There are crouching tigers and hidden dragons in the cultivation world. What do you know? Yun Jian glared at Lei Jian, then turned to Lu Ping and said with a smile, Brother Lu, please don't blame me. My second brother is a straightforward person. But to be honest, with Brother Lu's skills, it's really surprising that you're from the North Sea. Lu Ping waved his hand nonchalantly and said, everyone knows that the North Sea cultivation world is barren. During this period of time in Middle-earth, I've also realized that among cultivators of the same generation, the North Sea cultivators are indeed inferior. This is the truth, Brother Lei Jian is right. Lu Ping paused and continued, as for my skills, if not for a little luck, even if I were to train for another 200 years, I might not be able to do so. At this time, among the 3 swords of rolling thunder, Lei Jian, who had been silent all this while, asked, Lu Ping, do you still want to swim in this swamp? If it's convenient, can you come with us? Lu Ping hurriedly shook his head and said, looking at the situation now, I'm afraid that the various sects have lost control. Right now, the swamp is like a pot of porridge. You see, even the Dharma adepts have started to fight. I'm just here to watch the show, but now I have to leave quickly. I also advise the 3 of you, if there are no Laozu in the swamp to protect you, it's better to leave this place quickly. It seems that with our level of cultivation, we won't be able to do much in the swamp. Yun Jian nodded and said, Brother Lu is right, but we don't intend to leave this place for now. On the other hand, Brother Lu is alone. If you still want to watch the show, why don't you come with us to meet the few Laozu from our sect? Lu Ping smiled and declined, saying, "It's better not to go. I've already wasted a lot of time in the swamp. Another day, I'll definitely go to Tianxian Mountain to visit all of you." After Lu Ping left the three rushing thunder swords, he returned to his original appearance. Saving the three rushing thunder swords was a sudden idea. Although he had a motive, he was more willing to let the three of them owe him a favor. If he followed the three of them to meet the Tianxian sect's Laozu and received the Tianxian sect's protection, this favor would fade. This time, Lu Ping headed towards the depths of the swamp. Although he knew that after the Hebei training world's human practitioners had broken through the Mara's encampment in the depths of the swamp, Lu Ping still wanted to go there and take a look. Most importantly, Lu Ping guessed that Guo Tianshan and Laozu should have gone there as well. Eighth brother, second brother is still in the demon clan's encirclement, fighting with the Dharma stage demon practitioners. Is it inappropriate for us to break out of the encirclement like this? What do you know? Although second brother has only been in the Dharma stage for more than 10 years, his strength is that of an ordinary mid-Dharma stage cultivator. Laozu can't stop him even if he wants to. If we stay and help him, we'll be a burden instead. Lu Ping stopped his escape light. It was really a narrow road for enemies. He did not expect to meet the Taishian sect practitioners who had been fighting with the Tianxian sect practitioners here. He did not expect them to also break out of the encirclement of the demon clan, but from their tone, it seemed that the Dharma second brother did not come out with them. Eighth senior brother is right. Second senior brother is naturally belligerent. Even eldest senior brother doesn't want to provoke him too much. Now that he has such an opportunity, he wouldn't be second senior brother if he didn't have a good fight. I think as long as second senior brother wants to leave, the encirclement won't be able to stop him. Junior brother Gung is right. This time, the demon clan has surrounded the practitioners of the various sects, but they are actually only targeting us core forging disciples. Although Dharma and Laozu have their own restraints, the demon clan does not dare to, nor do they have the ability to, deal a fatal blow. In this regard, both sides are quite restrained. In the end, it's still us core forging disciples who cannot affect the current state of affairs in the training world. The Yulon River demons know this, and that's why they are acting so recklessly. Once our Dharma adepts are tied down, they will not be able to help. In that case, we can only rely on ourselves. Fortunately, we still have second brother. Otherwise, with our strength, it would be difficult to break out of the demon clan's encirclement. But this time, the Tianxian sect's three rushing thunder swords have it easy. These three are among the 18 direct adepts of the Tianxian sect. If we can kill them this time, it will be enough to make the Tianxian sect's heart ache. Being able to kill junior brother Lin, that traitor, is already a great harvest. I didn't expect that the spies that the Profound Sky sect had placed in our sect would actually reach junior brother Lin's level. If it wasn't for me being more cautious this time and getting in touch with second senior brother who was nearby, we would have definitely died today. Eighth brother Chi Nan said with lingering fear. Isn't that so? Eighth brother has the foresight. I heard that the sect has recently been considering whether to accept junior brother Lin as a direct disciple. If junior brother Lin sneaks in the future, junior brother Lin's status will rise, and he will help the Tianxian sect topple our sect. Exactly. This time, eighth brother's contribution is great. With the addition of the blood shuras accompanying spiritual treasure, eighth brother will definitely advance to the Dharma stage with the help of the sect. When that time comes, we will have to call eighth brother fourth brother. The two's compliments made eighth brother quite proud, and a proud laugh came from the green mist. I wonder who saved the three rushing thunder swords. Looking at his strength, even second brother is a little afraid. Could it be the swordsman of wind and cloud, the number one swordsman among the third-generation disciples of the Tianxian sect? It's not swordsman of wind and cloud. Although that swordsman of wind and cloud has also advanced to the Dharma stage, he is ranked fourth among the 18 direct disciples of the Tianxian sect. Second brother has fought with him before, and although he did not defeat him, he had the upper hand. If he met this person, second brother would not be so afraid. I think it's most likely a Dharma adept of the older generation of the Tianxian sect. How shameless. This time, when we return to the sect, we must ask second brother who it was among the second generation adepts of the Tianxian sect who saved the 3 rushing thunder swords. We will make the Tianxian sect lose face. But eighth brother, you said that the Yulan swamp was originally a barren land. The demon clan of the Yulan River only used it as a breeding ground for ferocious beasts. How could there be so many small and medium-sized spirit veins here, and they are so densely concentrated in the depths of the swamp? In addition, it is said that there are also many spirit veins. Even if it is a change in the veins of the earth, it can't be so strange, right? This question seemed to be quite sensitive, and eighth brother seemed to be thinking about it. After a while, eighth brother Chi Nan's voice came again, saying, I will only tell you. After you hear it, don't say anything else. The other 2 hurriedly said, Don't worry, eighth brother. We will not leak anything. Lu Ping followed the 3 of them from afar. Hearing this, he was also curious. He was also puzzled by the sudden appearance of the spirit veins in the Yulan swamp, and wanted to hear what the Tianxian sect had to say. Do you know of the Yingtian sect? Hidden in the clear fog, Lu Ping's expression was shocked. Yingtian sect. How could we not know of it? In the past, it was the most powerful sect in the north of the Central Plains. It is said that the Yingtian sect had the pure Yang Laozu, who was at the peak of the Dharma laws stage, at the helm. It was a power even more powerful than the Tianxian sect. Could it be that the change in the veins of the Yulan swamp this time has something to do with the Yingtian sect? Didn't the Yingtian sect turn to dust 4,000 years ago? Eighth brother Chi Nan's voice once again rang out leisurely, saying, That's right, the Yingtian sect has long been destroyed. Almost everything in the Yingtian sect has been plundered, and even some secret treasures and caves have been discovered by others in the following 1,000 years. Our sect has also benefited from the destruction of the Yingtian sect. Chi Nan's voice paused, as if recalling something, then he continued, It has long been rumored in the world of cultivation that the Yingtian sect had hidden a dojo in the past. As the final place of inheritance for the Yingtian sect, it has never been discovered by the world of cultivation. In this dojo, the Yingtian sect had once led in 2 or 3 large spirit veins to support the operation of the various formations and prohibitions in the dojo. What, eighth brother, are you saying that the Yingtian sect is now hidden in the Yulan swamp? Chapter 751. No, more than 10 years ago, the Yingtian dojo was found by a group of mysterious cultivators. After taking all the treasures in the dojo, they destroyed the space where the dojo was located. After that, this group of cultivators was attacked by many sects in the Hebei cultivation world, Laozu. However, at that time, the calamity of Mara broke out. In the end, they took the opportunity to escape. What a pity. Oh right, eighth senior brother, does the cultivation world have any guesses about the identity of that group of mysterious cultivators? It is indeed a pity. It is said that even the 5 great holy lands once sent cultivators to search the Yingtian mountain range, but in the end, they found nothing. As for the identity of the group of cultivators who obtained the inheritance of the dojo, there are many theories in the cultivation world. Many people believe that it was the work of the overseas cultivation world, while others speculate that the various sects in the Hebei cultivation world obtained the inheritance of the dojo. In order not to leak it out, they used a group of mysterious cultivators to cover it up. However, it is said that among that group of cultivators, there was once a Dharma adept who fell under the siege of the various sections. If that was not a cover-up set up by the various sects in Hebei, then the various sects in Hebei who participated in the encirclement of this group of mysterious cultivators must know something. However, at that time, these sects all denied that they had ever killed a Dharma adept of the other party. This also caused the cultivation world to speculate that this was just a 2-man show directed by the Hebei cultivation world. Then, What exactly is in the swamp that attracted so many cultivators? Is it really to encircle and annihilate Mara? Encircling and annihilating Mara is naturally an important factor. After this encirclement and annihilation, the Hebei cultivation world will not be disturbed by Mara for at least a few decades. However, the most important thing is that after the collapse of the Yingtian dojo more than 10 years ago, the few large spirit veins that were condensed on the spot were constantly divided due to the changes in the earth veins, and most of them were distributed in the Yingyu swamp. This news was first discovered by the various sects in the Hebei cultivation world, and in order to consolidate their position in the Hebei cultivation world, the Spirit Martial sect took the opportunity to encircle and annihilate Mara. At the same time, they secretly allied with our sect to fight against the other sects in the Hebei cultivation world that opposed the Spirit Martial sect's promotion to a large sect. Hearing this, Lu Ping had basically figured out what he wanted to know. The three people from the Supreme Profound sect did not realize that as they moved forward, the fog around them became thicker and thicker. Strange, eighth senior brother, why has the fog around us become so thick? The eighth senior brother's expression changed, and his divine spirit suddenly swept around. His face immediately became gloomy, and he said, "Not good, my divine spirit has been restricted, we have fallen into someone's ambush." The three of them each took out their own magical weapons, each standing in a simple formation. The eighth senior brother said in a loud voice, "I am Qi Nan, a disciple of the Supreme Profound sect. My two junior brothers and I happened to pass by this place and mistakenly entered your formation. I ask you to be magnanimous and let us out." The Supreme Profound sect, is it so powerful? A voice came from an unknown direction toward the three of them. It's him, it's the Tianxian sect Dharma adept who rescued the three rushing thunder swords. The eighth senior brother and the others easily recognized that this voice was exactly the same as the voice of the person who had previously rescued the three rushing thunder swords and the two flying swords that even the second senior brother Fan Yuqing was greatly afraid of. Their expressions inevitably carried a trace of despair. Even the second senior brother was not willing to provoke him easily, how could they be his opponent? Lu Ping did not care whether the other party was desperate or not. He originally came for the companion spiritual treasure in their hands to kill them and rob them. It was better if they were desperate, it would make it easier for Lu Ping to deal with these people. The autumn water Yi-Ren sword made a series of flying whirlwinds. This was a kind of magical sword technique that Lu Ping had obtained from the ancient books of the Yingtian dojo. This kind of sword technique was originally created for the use of the two flying swords. A disciple of the Supreme Profound sect who followed Qi Nan used the magical weapon in his hand to block the autumn water sword, but was no longer able to stop the Yi-Ren sword. Another disciple next to him saw that the situation was not good and hurriedly took out his own magical weapon to help the disciple defend the Yi-Ren sword. However, before he could withdraw his magical weapon, he suddenly felt his protective gang qi being pierced layer by layer. The disciple turned pale with fright. At this time, it was already too late to dodge. He could only circulate the inner qi all over his body, and the gauze robe he was wearing suddenly rose with a ray of light. It was actually a magical gauze robe, intended to block the magical weapon that was secretly trying to assassinate him. The disciple looked down and saw that after a dark blue flying sword pierced through the 6 layers of protective gang qi on his body, it was finally blocked by the light of the magical gauze robe. However, a huge force came from the flying sword and sent the cultivator flying more than 10 feet away. He could not breathe, and the formation formed by the 3 people was easily broken by Lu Ping. The landslide fell from the sky, and this time it was aimed at 8th senior brother Qi Nan. However, to Lu Ping's surprise, 8th senior brother Qi Nan actually took out a golden talisman the moment Lu Ping launched his attack. This talisman was all too familiar to Lu Ping. It was the escape talisman used by the cultivator who was ranked 11th among the 15 direct disciples of the Supreme Profound sect who had previously escaped from Lu Ping's hands and held the Supreme Profound gold fan. This 8th senior brother obviously wanted to take advantage of the gap between Lu Ping's attack on his 2 junior brothers to escape. What a joke! An existence that could fight against second senior brother Fan Yuqing was not someone he could face. He could not care about the lives of his two junior brothers now. At least their deaths might be able to fight for a chance of survival for him. In fact, it could only be, maybe, because Lu Ping had long been prepared for this after the last time the disciples of the Supreme Profound Sect used the escape talisman to escape. Although the eighth senior brother did not even resist once and used the escape talisman to escape was really beyond Lu Ping's expectations, but Lu Ping still activated the talisman in his hand at the first moment. To be exact, it was a talisman weapon. A shadow of a mountain appeared above the eighth senior brother's head. The shadow fell heavily and crushed the space portal that had just been opened. If the eighth senior brother had not dodged quickly, perhaps he would have been crushed along with the space portal. The huge spiritual power impact made the eighth senior brother break out in a cold sweat. However, looking at the destroyed space portal, the cold sweat suddenly turned into a heart full of coldness. It's over, we can't escape. At this time, the eighth senior brother did not have time to think about why a Dharma manifestation Laozu would use a talisman weapon when he wanted to kill them. Eighth senior brother, the eighth senior brother's act of escaping alone obviously made his two junior brothers very dissatisfied. However, now that everyone was in imminent danger because of Lu Ping, they did not dare to have any thoughts of internal strife. They just expressed their indignation. Since the escape talisman had been broken, Lu Ping naturally had no more scruples. Although the eighth senior brother's strength was indeed a great master among the late core forging practitioners of the same level, Lu Ping did not take him seriously. Under the pressure of the beautiful autumn sword, Lu Ping first used the Seven Thunder Treasures calabash to kill one of them, and then used the landslide to smash the other practitioner into meat paste because of the Water Ghost Sword's invisible sword technique. Although the eighth senior brother, Qi Nan, had the strength of a peak core forging practitioner, but in a one-on-one situation, it was impossible for him to be the opponent of Lu Ping, who was a Dharma manifestation practitioner. However, Qi Nan also had a spirit-nourishing magic weapon in his hand, called the Taishian halberd. It was smelted with 7 layers of treasures, but it was a powerful magic weapon in the case of close combat. With this magic weapon in hand, it still took a lot of effort for Lu Ping to cut it under the Zhen Yuan Qi sword technique. This halberd was snatched by Lu Hai before Lu Ping had fully mastered it. This kid's favorite weapon was the halberd. This spirit-nourishing magic weapon was very difficult to use in the hands of Lu Hai, who was at the 5th level of the core forging realm, and his spiritual yuan would be exhausted after a few uses, but Lu Hai still stubbornly put it away. As long as his cultivation advanced to the 6th level of the core forging realm, this spirit-nourishing magic weapon could be used by him. The Taishian sect's famous 18 weapons, each of which was a spirit-nourishing magic weapon, were usually wielded by the direct disciples of the sect. Although this Taishian halberd was not as refined as the Taishian gold fan and the Taishian divine light sword, it was still a very rare treasure. 3 top-grade spirit stones were found on Qi Nan, the 8th senior brother, and 1 or 2 top-grade spirit stones each on the other 2. This made the number of top-grade spirit stones on Lu Ping's body surpass 10. Because of the large consumption of top-grade spirit stones, the 3 of them had more than 300 pieces on them, which was not a small fortune. The large sects in the Middle Earth were indeed rich and powerful. Although the Taishian sect didn't have the title of a large sect, it had the strength of a large sect, and the wealth of its disciples made Lu Ping feel ashamed for his Zhenling sect disciples. The large sects and forces of the Central Plains were indeed rich and overbearing. Although this Taishian sect did not have the name of a large sect, it had the strength of a large sect. The wealth of its disciples made Lu Ping feel ashamed for Zhenling's fellow disciples. There were also 4 or 5 other psychic magic weapons, but now that Lu Ping was not interested in them, the only things that could arouse his interest were the spirit-nourishing magic weapons. Of course, there was no need to mention the spirit treasures. There were usually only 2 ways to obtain the accompanying spiritual treasure of the blood Shura. The first was to kill the blood Shura when it was least expecting it. This way, it could be obtained before it could detonate its accompanying spiritual treasure. The chances of success in such a situation were extremely slim. A blood Shura's strength was at least equivalent to that of an early Dharma adept. With the help of the accompanying spiritual treasure, even a mid-Dharma adept would not be able to kill it. It was really not an easy task to kill the blood Shura in one blow. The other way was for the blood Shura to voluntarily pass on the spirit treasure in its hands to a Shura of the same clan, so that the Shura could absorb the essence of the blood Shura in the spirit treasure to increase its level of training. This kind of inheritance would often be decided by the blood Shura, and the inheritance would be realized in a short period of time. It was rare for the eighth brother and the others to encounter a situation where the time for inheritance was delayed in order to fight for the spirit treasure. The spirit treasure in Lu Ping's hands should have belonged to a wood element blood Shura. After being refined into a spirit treasure, it was difficult for Lu Ping to use its full power in his hands, which made Lu Ping feel that it was a pity. Chapter 752. There were two heaven and earth spiritual objects and mystical objects that Lu Ping was looking forward to, but their quality was too low. Lu Ping was not interested in them, so he put them away in his own storage device. After burning the three corpses to ashes, Lu Ping turned around and continued to move deeper into the swamp. Along the way, he found a few Mara, but they were all killed by Lu Ping. He obtained a few good spiritual materials and a few soul-devouring crystals of low quality. Not long after Lu Ping entered the depths of the swamp, he sensed a voice transmission jade slip suddenly shattering the void around him. A small space portal opened and jumped out from it. Lu Ping held the jade slip in his hand and scanned it with his divine sense. His heart skipped a beat, and he immediately crushed the jade slip in his hand. The ocean-crossing boat under his feet flashed, and he did not care that flying like this would attract the attention of the cultivators hidden in the clear fog. He hurriedly flew southwest. Guotian Shan Laozu's injuries were naturally faked. After the human clan cultivators mainly from the Hebei cultivation world broke through the Mara's encampment in the depths of the swamp, a large number of Mara spread in all directions. Guotian Shan Laozu's camp must have been attacked because it was relatively close to the center of the swamp. At this time, Guotian Shan Laozu naturally could not pretend to be sick, but in order not to be discovered by others, Guotian Shan Laozu had to secretly leave the camp and wander alone in the swamp. Guotian Shan Laozu was also lucky. After killing dozens of Mara and fighting with a blood Shura, Guotian Shan Laozu accidentally found a medium-sized spirit vein at the edge of the swamp. At this time, Guotian Shan Laozu also had a guess about the purpose of encircling Mara in the Yingyu swamp. However, when he passed the center of the swamp, he found many traces left behind when the earth veins were pulled. Obviously, the area with the most concentrated spirit veins had been divided by the powerful sects that had attacked the central area first. Yingshan Immortal Academy was a new small force in the Hebei cultivation world, ranked last among the 12 small forces. Now that they could find a medium-sized spirit vein, it was already a great surprise for Guotian Shan Laozu who was from the North Sea. It should be known that Guotian Shan Laozu had managed Yingshan Immortal Academy for more than 10 years, but he had barely increased the number of medium-sized spirit veins from the academy from 1 to 2. Otherwise, Guotian Shan Laozu would not have coveted the 6 miniature spirit-gathering pearls that Lu Ping had obtained from the Fist Valley. Just as Guotian Shan Laozu was about to set up the guiding formation, 2 Dharma laws of the Luyang sect suddenly attacked, wanting to snatch the medium-sized spirit vein from Guotian Shan Laozu's hands. Guotian Shan Laozu was not willing to let this go. Naturally, the two sides fought fiercely. Guotian Shan Laozu was confident that if it was a one-on-one fight, he would definitely be able to defeat any one of them. However, now that the two of them had joined forces, Guotian Shan Laozu could only barely hold on. The situation was very passive from the start. Fortunately, Guotian Shan Laozu had been sent by Jinling to the Central Plains to establish a force, so he naturally had many tricks up his sleeves. Even though he was at a disadvantage, he was still able to remain undefeated under the fierce attacks of 2 practitioners of the same level. This Luyang sect was also one of the 12 small sects in the Hebei training world. However, the strength of this sect was far from what the Yingshan Immortal Academy could compare to. Similarly, there were 4 early Dharma laws Laozu in the sect, and their strength was not weaker than the Huayu sect, which was determined to become a medium-sized sect. This time, the Luyang sect had sent 2 Dharma laws adepts into the Yingyu swamp. Naturally, they had a reason for doing so. In reality, they had also managed to snatch a few small-sized spirit veins from the various sects in the depths of the swamp. It was just that they did not have a share of the medium-sized spirit veins. The large-sized spirit veins in the Yingtian dojo had been broken down into many medium-sized spirit veins, small-sized spirit veins, and micro-sized spirit veins due to the changes in the Earth's meridians. Then, they were distributed throughout the entire swamp. Most of them were in the center of the swamp. This was also the reason why the Shura and the demonic Asuras were entrenched in the center of the swamp. Although the 2 Laozus had some gains, it was clear that these gains were not enough to satisfy them. In reality, their luck was not bad. After not having any more gains in the center of the swamp, the 2 of them had tried their luck and wandered around the swamp. They had not expected that the 2 of them would actually follow Guotianshan Laozu and find this medium-sized spirit vein that had previously been occupied by a blood Shura and had now retreated. Guotianshan, if you retreat now, we will not make things difficult for you. In the future, we will not interfere with your Yingshan Immortal Academy's business. If you really want to tangle with us, even if our Luyang sect does not obtain this medium-sized spirit vein, do you think that your Yingshan Immortal Academy will have a good life in the future? When Lu Ping arrived, one of the Laozus from Luyang sect was shouting at Guotianshan Laozu. That's right, Guotianshan. Think carefully. If this continues, think about whether your Yingshan Immortal Academy will be able to withstand the wrath of my Luyang sect. With a loud rumble, a towering mountain descended from the sky. The great divine power of moving mountains and filling seas. It's this move again, retreat quickly. Guotianshan Laozu's great divine power of moving mountains and filling seas had become even more unstoppable after his cultivation had advanced to the Dharma manifestation stage. Cultivators of the same level who encountered this great divine power would usually have to retreat. However, this great divine power required a huge amount of vital energy to be used, which gave the user a headache. Above Guotianshan Laozu's head was a huge treasure that looked like a mountain. It was the Feilai Peak, and the mountain-driving whip in his hand was also a spirit-nurturing treasure. It was because of these 2 treasures that Guotianshan Laozu was able to stand firm under the attacks of 2 cultivators of the same level. Guotianshan, although this great divine power of yours is very powerful, how many times can you use it? Let's go. Since he is not willing to retreat, we might as well let him leave some of his treasures behind. That way, people will not say that our Luyang sect's 2 Dharma adepts could not handle him alone. The 2 treasures Laozu attacked Guotianshan Laozu from 2 different directions. However, for some reason, Guotianshan Laozu turned around and attacked one of the Laozu, leaving his back to the cultivator rushing over from the other side. This Laozu was naturally not stupid enough to think that Guotianshan Laozu had forgotten to guard against him. He used all his power to cast spells and controlled his treasures to attack Guotianshan Laozu. At the same time, he carefully watched Guotianshan Laozu, ready to deal with Guotianshan Laozu's next move. However, what he waited for was not Guotianshan Laozu's trump card, but a pair of flying swords that suddenly attacked him from behind. After secretly communicating with Guotianshan Laozu, Lu Ping's first move was the Great River Flows East sword technique. The continuous sword light was like endless waves falling from the sky, each wave higher than the one before it, rushing towards Guotianshan. Due to Lu Ping's surprise attack, this Laozu was actually unable to recover from Lu Ping's continuous attacks. He retreated all the way, separating himself from the other Laozu. When this Dharma adept realized that his opponent was actually an 8th level core forging adept, this adept was instantly enraged. The treasure in his hand transformed into a huge reef, standing upright in the midst of the sword wave, forcibly splitting Lu Ping's great sword technique in half. However, before this Lao Tzu could even prepare to counterattack, a sky-piercing sword light that looked somewhat similar to the Yulon River Khoi clan's essential energy sword technique, but it was also somewhat different. The sword light descended from the sky, chopping down the treasure that his treasure had transformed into. A creaking sound could be heard, and Fa Xiang Laozu suddenly felt a sharp pain in his divine will. He hurriedly retracted his treasure, only to see that the treasure had already been destroyed by the sword light. Fa Xiang Laozu let out an angry roar. Although he no longer dared to underestimate the cultivator in front of him, he still believed that it would not be difficult for him to defeat the person in front of him. Clang! A strange long sound suddenly rang out from Laozu's body, and a strange divine will, like many thin needles, pierced towards Lu Ping's divine will. A huge shadow slowly rose from behind this Laozu, transforming into a huge silver cicada. Dharma power, the cicada Dharma power that was formed when a cultivator with the cicada bloodline advanced to the Dharma stage. Lu Ping's heart sank. He did not think that this Laozu in front of him would be able to summon his Dharma power so quickly. This was usually a method that Dharma adepts used to fight with their lives on the line. With a sweep of his divine will, Lu Ping instantly understood the reason. At this time, Guotianshan Laozu, who was no longer being held back by another Dharma adept, had immediately displayed his prowess. With the flying peak in his hands and the mountain driving whip in his hands, he had forced the Dharma adept of the Luyang sect to retreat. If he did not defeat Lu Ping, then he would have to face Guotianshan Laozu's attacks one by one. Lu Ping made a prompt decision. The autumn water sword continued to use the Great East Stream technique. Streams of sword techniques continued to exert pressure on this Dharma power Laozu. At the same time, the Yiren sword transformed into a sword dragon, roaring and biting towards the Dharma power in the sky. As for the flowing long sword, it transformed into a whirlpool of sword light. As Lu Ping continued to study different types of sword techniques, the power of the great sword techniques in Lu Ping's hands had become stronger and stronger. The three spirit-nurturing great flying swords in Lu Ping's hands displayed the three great sword techniques. With such strong inner yuan and powerful divine will, even an ordinary Dharma adept would have to expend a lot of energy to display them. But now, it was being used by a core forging level 8 adept like Lu Ping. However, the Dharma power was the trump card of a Dharma adept. How could its power be destroyed so easily by Lu Ping's great sword techniques? The giant silver cicada flapped its wings and the torrent of swords was immediately diverted. Although Lu Ping's divine sense was no weaker than the sword Jiao Jiao's, it still gave Lu Ping a headache. The sentient sword Jiao Jiao instantly turned into a dead Jiao Jiao, disintegrating before it could even get close to Lu Ping. The giant cicada crashed into the whirlpool of sword light. Layers of sword light scraped off the giant cicada's body, and under the attack of the Great East Stream technique, the giant cicada's body became smaller and smaller. But in the end, it still broke the whirlpool. A giant silver mouthpart stabbed towards Lu Ping. Suddenly, a colorful cloud rose around Lu Ping's body, forming a huge light screen, trying to block the silver cicada's attack. Chapter 753. A tearing sound could be heard as the multicolored curtain of light was first pierced through by the mouthpart of the cicada, and then it was torn apart by the 6 legs of the cicada. The entire body of the cicada had passed through the curtain of light. The cicada continued to stab at Lu Ping with its mouthpart, but suddenly, a white jade lotus appeared on Lu Ping's chest. A beam of light shot out from the center of the lotus, and the silver cicada that was trying to stab Lu Ping was frozen in midair like a puppet. Immediately after, 2 more beams of multicolored light shot out from Lu Ping's chest, and in an instant, the silver cicada Dharma power was punched through 2 holes about half a foot wide. Ah! A cry of pain could be heard from afar, and the silver cicada Dharma power, which had been punched through with 2 holes, flew back at lightning speed. Lu Ping kept the water-controlling flag that he had been holding tightly in his hand and thought to himself, what a close shave. When he looked up, he saw that the Dharma power, Laozu, had already flown to the edge of the sky. It was obvious that he was about to leave, and he seemed to be in a panic, as if he was afraid of something. It was only then that Lu Ping noticed that there was no sound coming from the direction where Guotianshan Laozu and the other Dharma power, Laozu, were fighting. When Lu Ping turned his head to look, he saw that Guotianshan Laozu was flying slowly towards Lu Ping. This kid is not bad, to be able to defeat a Dharma adept. Even though Guotianshan Laozu already knew that Lu Ping had the ability to fight against an early Dharma adept, when he saw it with his own eyes, Guotianshan Laozu did not hide the shock on his face. Instead, he was more happy that Lu Ping's ability had increased. Without the other Laozu holding him back, Guotianshan Laozu easily defeated his opponent. After his opponent escaped, the Dharma power of the Dharma adept who was fighting Lu Ping had coincidentally been pierced by Lu Ping. Although it was not a serious injury, Lu Ping had initially wondered why his opponent had retreated, but when he saw Guotianshan Laozu flying towards him, he naturally understood the reason. Guotianshan Laozu saw that Lu Ping had reached out to retrieve the two multicolored orbs of light into his core space, so he asked, just now, what kind of treasures were those two multicolored orbs of light that pierced through the Dharma power? How come I've never seen them before? And that white jade lotus doesn't seem to be an ordinary item either. How come every time I see you, you are able to take out treasures that are completely new to us? Could it be that you're tired of being a treasure boy and are ready to become a treasure boy, Laozu? Lu Ping hurriedly waved his hands and said, Uncle, please don't make fun of me. My little tricks are nothing in your eyes. Just now, if that person had not seen that uncle had already defeated his comrade and wanted to retreat, I would not have been able to hold on any longer. Guotianshan Laozu could naturally see that there were some things that Lu Ping did not want to say out loud, but he did not want to lie to himself, so he did not pursue the matter further and said, let's first set up a traction array on this spirit vein, then we will retreat to the swamp. I feel that the atmosphere in this swamp is a bit strange. If we stay any longer, I'm afraid it will be dangerous. Lu Ping could not help but admire Guotianshan Laozu's intuition. As he set up the traction array, he also told Guotianshan Laozu about what he had seen and heard in the past few days. Then he heard that the Spirit Martial sect and the Taishian sect had joined forces, and that the sects in Hebei had formed an alliance in order to suppress the rise of the Spirit Martial sect. At this time, the Tianxian sect had come out of nowhere to fight against the Taishian sect, but they did not join forces with the other sects in Hebei. After that, when the cultivators of the various sects were fighting, they were secretly surrounded by the demon clan. After a great battle, Guotianshan Laozu's expression became more and more serious. He said, the situation seems to be worse than we expected. I'm afraid we cannot stay in this swamp for another day. The two of them set up the traction array. Guotianshan Laozu placed an array disk in it and then activated the array. The entire array shook rapidly, and then the entire ground shook. Guotianshan Laozu and Lu Ping rose into the sky one after the other, looking at the changes in the earth beneath their feet. This time, when they entered the swamp, only the traction array that the three Laozu had on them could be activated after they had finished setting it up. As for the array that Lu Ping had set up, because his cultivation had not reached the Dharma stage, he could not use his space magic. He had to return to the Yingshan Immortal Academy to be able to activate the array. Uncle Master, how was your harvest in the swamp this time? Ha, the Central Plains is really rich. In less than 2 months, the old man had to pretend to be sick, but he still found many good things. In addition to this spirit vein and the 3 or 4 small spirit veins that you found before, as well as the things that your Uncle Master Liang and Uncle Master Chu found, we have reached 2 medium spirit veins in the swamp this time. There are also some small spirit material mines and so on. Many of them are not important to other sects, so we have all used the traction array to change the spirit veins. Lu Ping said happily, this can be considered a great harvest. Guo Tianshan Laozu shook his head and said, if it wasn't for this medium spirit vein, our harvest would not be considered much. That's right, Uncle Master. How are Uncle Master Liang and Uncle Master Chu? They should have already succeeded by now, right? The two of them flew out of the swamp. Along the way, they saw a ray of light flying across the sky. Guo Tianshan Laozu shouted, is that fellow Yin Hui from the Yintang sect, the old man, Guo Tianshan? The ray of light suddenly stopped midway, then changed direction and flew towards Lu Ping and Guo Tianshan. Fellow Guo Tianshan, it really is you. That day, when a group of Mara broke through the camp, the old man was still looking for you. Unexpectedly, things happened so suddenly that the old man lost track of you. Fortunately, it seems like you didn't suffer any losses. Yin Hui said to Guo Tianshan with a smile when she saw that although Guo Tianshan Laozu still looked a little tired, his injuries were obviously mostly healed. At the same time, she also glanced at Lu Ping and nodded slightly. Guo Tianshan Laozu looked at the slightly disheveled Yin Hui Laozu and asked in surprise, fellow Yin Hui, what happened to you? Why do you look like you just fought with someone? Yin Hui Laozu looked at Guo Tianshan Laozu in surprise and asked, what's wrong, fellow Guo Tianshan? Don't you know? What? Guo Tianshan Laozu and Lu Ping could more or less guess what Yin Hui Laozu was going to say, but the two of them still asked with a look of ignorance. Sai, you two are really lucky. Sai, fellow Taoists, you two are quite lucky. It looks like you did not get caught up in the battles of the past few days. These few days, the situation in the swamp has been chaotic to the extreme. Not only are the sects in the Hebei region fighting amongst themselves, even the Profound Sky and Profound Sky sects from the plains have gotten involved. In addition, there are also cultivators from the plateau and the Hunan region. Some people even saw cultivators from the Yuan clan and the Five Holy Lands. I wonder if it's true or not. After that, the Yulon River's monster clans also joined the fray to take advantage of the situation. Following Lu Ping's pretentious exclamation, Guo Tianshan Laozu's face was also full of shock. He said, there's actually such a thing. How is this possible? Yin Hui Laozu sighed and said, why is it impossible? First, a mid-Dharma stage elder Linkong died in the Lingwu faction, and even now, we still don't know who the murderer was. After that, even the early Dharma stage elder Lingyun died under the sneak attack of the monsters. Now, only the great practitioner Wu Lingfeng is left, and he brought a few remaining core forging adepts of the Lingwu faction out of the swamp. Guo Tianshan Laozu and Lu Ping were shocked at first, but then they were overjoyed. They knew that Yin Hui Laozu was actually opposed to the Lingwu faction becoming a large sect. She said that because she was sad to see a cultivator of the same generation die like that. The other sects have all suffered losses. This time, the Hebei sect's initial plan was to completely occupy the Yingyu swamp and take the opportunity to squeeze out the power of the monsters. But now, it seems that it's good enough to occupy half of it. Fortunately, the spirit veins in the swamp have already been taken by all the sections. Otherwise, this trip to the swamp could be considered a loss. Looking at Yin Hui Laozu's disappointed expression, Guo Tianshan Laozu did not know what to say. This time, of the 3 late core forging adepts who followed Yin Hui Laozu into the swamp, 2 had died in the swamp. The remaining 1 had already been sent back to the sect, so it could be said that they had dodged a calamity. At this time, Lu Ping suddenly thought of something and said, dare I ask Senior, although this time the human sects are fighting amongst themselves, once the monsters attack, the various sects should also end their internal conflicts and unite against the outside world. This is the rule set by the 5 Holy Lands. Although the Yulon River monsters are powerful, at this time, the various sects in the swamp are in a state of turmoil. Once they unite, they should not let the Yulon River take half of the swamp, right? Hearing Lu Ping's words, Yin Hui Laozu immediately sighed and said, my dear nephew is right. Originally, when the Yulon River monsters attacked, the human race cultivators were prepared to give them a head-on blow. But who would have thought that at this time, something big would happen to the Huayu sect, causing the various sects to panic and lose the will to fight, and hastily end this trip to the swamp. Lu Ping and Guo Tianshan looked at each other. Lu Ping pretended to be surprised and asked, Huayu sect? The sect that had one of their Dharma adepts killed by the monsters? Aren't they just a small sect? How can they affect the overall situation of the entire Hebei's cultivation world? Yin Hui Laozu laughed bitterly and looked at the equally confused Guo Tianshan Laozu. He said, do you also think that the sects are making a big deal out of nothing? Without waiting for Guo Tianshan Laozu to reply, Yin Hui Laozu continued, it's no wonder. Who would have thought that after the Huayu sect sent out all their Dharma adepts, their own sect's headquarters would be completely destroyed by 2 Dharma adepts? What? Guo Tianshan Laozu and Lu Ping both exclaimed, how is this possible? Who would have such guts? And how did they break through the Huayu sect's protective formation? Even if there were no Dharma adepts in the sect, to break through the protective formation would not have been so easy, would it? Restriction-breaking talismans. These 2 early Dharma bandits used 4 5-colored restriction-breaking talismans in one go to break through the protective formation of the Huayu sect. Then, the 2 of them rushed into the sect and looted the place before retreating calmly. Sigh, from now on, the Huayu sect will decline and rise to become a mid-sized sect. Who knows how long more the Huayu sect will have to work towards this dream, and how many generations of hard work they have to put in. Chapter 754. When the news of Huayu sect's destruction reached the swamp, the other sects Laozu no longer had any thoughts of fighting the demon race for the abundant jade swamp. They didn't dare to stay in the swamp for too long, and they all brought their disciples back to their sections. The operation launched by the Hebei cultivation world to expand their sphere of influence ended up with a hasty ending. Lu Ping and Guo Tianshan Laozu bid farewell to Yin Hui and Laozu after leaving the swamp. The 2 of them flew back to Yingshan Immortal Academy. Liang Tianfeng and Chu Tiancheng had already returned to Immortal Academy a long time ago. When the Great Formation was activated, Lu Ping and Guo Tianshan Laozu had already entered Immortal Academy. They immediately sensed that the density of the spiritual energy inside had greatly increased. The disciples of Immortal Academy all had joyous smiles on their faces. Clearly, they already knew that this was the work of the sects Laozu. Lu Ping hurriedly went to the center of the Great Formation to set up a guiding formation, and then activated the Great Formation in the swamp. The entire Immortal Academy shook again, and 3 small spirit veins were guided back. The total number of spirit veins in the entire Immortal Academy was close to 4 medium spirit veins. The disciples of Immortal Academy were already extremely familiar with this kind of earth-shaking and mountain-shaking situation. A moment after Lu Ping activated the Great Formation, the disciples of Immortal Academy once again let out a wave of cheers. They clearly sensed that the density of the spiritual energy in the sect had increased again. Lu Ping activated the guiding formation again, drawing the small spirit stone vein in the swamp to the back of the mountain. Only then did he and Guo Tianshan Laozu run to see Liang Tianfeng and Chu Tiancheng, the 2 Laozus. How was the harvest? Guo Tianshan Laozu asked as soon as he saw the 2 Laozus in the stone cave under the cliff. Chu Tiancheng Laozu said complacently, it went quite smoothly. Unfortunately, we couldn't extract Huayu sect's spirit vein for Immortal Academy's use. Otherwise, this time, Huayu sect would have taken drastic measures. Guo Tianshan Laozu smiled and said, of course, the Huayu sect's spirit meridian cannot be touched. Otherwise, the remaining 3 Dharma adepts of the Huayu sect would definitely be able to trace the movements of the spirit meridian to the Celestial Academy. You don't know that the 2 of you have committed such a Dharma theft, but it has caused all the cultivators in the Hebei training world to be in a state of panic. Now, most of them have already retreated from the swamp and returned to their own sections. If they find out that the Huayu sect's spirit meridian was robbed by Celestial Academy, then we can just wait for the entire Hebei training world to be bathed in blood. That day in the swamp, Guo Tianshan Laozu and the others had joined hands to kill Huayu sect's Qinghua Laozu. This had caused the remaining 3 Laozus of the Huayu sect to move out and enter the Yingyu swamp to avenge Qinghua Laozu. However, at this time, Liang Tianfeng and Chu Tiancheng, the 2 Laozus, had taken the opportunity to leave the swamp and come to the Huayu sect's mountain gate. After Lu Ping had brought the complete inheritance of the Ying Tian sect's 7-colored restriction-breaking talisman back to the sect, Tian Shui Laozu and Xian Zhu Jinren's talisman crafting skills had improved greatly. Although the 5-colored restriction-breaking talisman was still difficult to craft, it was no longer as precious as before. Using 4 5-colored restriction-breaking talismans crafted by Tian Shui Laozu and Xian Zhu Jinren, they smashed a hole in the Huayu sect's sect-protecting array. After that, the 2 Laozus were like tigers that had entered a flock of sheep, wantonly plundering the mountain gate. It was as if they wanted to turn the entire Huayu sect's fortune upside down. Over 100 top-grade spirit stones, over 10,000 high-grade spirit stones, 3 spirit-nurturing treasures, 3 high-grade cauldrons, 8 types of earth-ranked and above spiritual items, 6 heaven and earth-ranked and above spiritual items, 2 talisman weapons, 2 complete inheritance cultivation techniques, 2 inheritances of great divine abilities and techniques. These were all things that the 2 Laozus were interested in. As for the other things that they did not like, such as mid- and low-grade spirit stones, treasures and tools that were below the level of spiritual treasures, low-grade spiritual items, strange items, incomplete inheritance cultivation techniques, divine abilities and techniques, spiritual herbs, spiritual materials and so on, there were countless of them. If it wasn't for the fact that at least half of the sect's most precious items were carried by the sect's Laozus, the harvest this time would definitely be even greater. Chu Tiancheng Laozu was obviously not satisfied with these harvests. However, he also knew that it was impossible for him to have any ideas on the remaining 3 Laozus of the Huayu sect. The majority of these things were to be handed over to the sect. However, since they were able to plunder the Huayu sect's treasures, the 4 of them naturally had the first chance to obtain the treasures. Of the 3 spirit-nurturing treasures, Chu Tiancheng Laozu and Liang Tianfeng Laozu each took one that was suitable for them. Lu Ping was not careless either. He took away 1,000 high-grade spirit stones for cultivation. He chose 2 suitable items for the 7 treasures Thunder Gourd to devour. He took away a quarter of the 3,000-year-old spirit herbs and picked out some of the other 1,000-year-old spirit herbs and 500-year-old spirit herbs. As one of the 3 great alchemy grandmasters of Jinling, Lu Ping had the right to take a quarter of the 3,000-year-old spirit herbs that the sect had obtained under any circumstances. The other 2 grandmasters also had a quarter each, and the remaining quarter was left for the other alchemy grandmasters of the sect to hone their alchemy skills or as the sect's reserves. As for the remaining items, the 3 Laozu each picked them out. Then, they left a portion of the cultivation resources in the Yingshan Immortal Academy as a reserve. Only then did Chu Tiancheng Laozu put the rest of the items into a huge storage bag, preparing to bring it back to Jinling. This time, the Yingshan Immortal Academy, or rather, Jinling, instigated conflict among the various sects in the Hebei training world. At the same time, they added fuel to the fire and prevented the spiritual martial sect from unifying the Hebei training world and becoming a large sect. The 3 Dharma adepts of the spiritual martial sect entered the swamp. 1 early Dharma adept and 1 mid-Dharma adept perished. In the end, only the great adept Wu Lingfeng led the few remaining core forging disciples out of the swamp. This was a huge blow to the ambitious spiritual martial sect. The human practitioners, Mara tribe, beasts, and demons from various regions and sects engaged in a chaotic battle in the swamp. In the end, most of the Mara tribe was annihilated. The human practitioners also suffered heavy casualties. It was said that other than the 2 Dharma adepts of the spiritual martial sect who perished, 5 other Laozu also perished. 2 of them were practitioners from the Hebei training world, while the other 3 were practitioners from other sections. Although the demons had the geographical advantage and had launched a surprise attack, they were still just the demons of the Yulon River. In the end, they were suppressed by the combined forces of the humans, and 5 or 6 demon Laozu cultivators perished. Other than Mara, the number of core forging adepts who perished from various sects and races reached more than 150. Of the 81 practitioners from the 18 sects of the Hebei training world who had entered the swamp, only slightly more than half made it out. Apart from these incidents, the Tianxian sect and the Tianxian sect, the two large sects in the lower reaches of the Yulon River, who had always been at odds with each other in the Yulon swamp. Also, the Huayu sect's lair had been raided by 2 Dharma bandits, causing the Hebei training world to suffer a great defeat in the swamp. The former was not a strange occurrence in the training world, but the latter was something new. Everyone in the training world was trying to guess the identities of the 2 Dharma bandits. Unfortunately, the 3 Laozu from the Huayu sect had come out in full force, and the remaining core forging adepts were unable to see through the disguises the 2 Dharma bandits were wearing. After the incident in the swamp came to an end, Chu Tiancheng Laozu returned to the North Sea alone, while Liang Tianfeng Laozu stayed behind. This time, he would appear at the Yingshan Immortal Academy at an appropriate time to slowly familiarize himself with the disciples of the academy. 20 years later, he would replace Guo Tianshan Laozu as the overseer of the Yingshan Immortal Academy. The position of mountain head of the Celestial Academy was usually changed every 10 years, while the position of Dharma Laozu changed every 30 years. However, before this, Liang Tianfeng Laozu still had a mission from the sect. He needed to travel to the Central Plains and observe the situation in the Central Plains training world. After the trip to the swamp, the Yingshan Immortal Academy kept a low profile and became completely silent. They focused all their attention on supervising the training of the disciples from the Celestial Academy. Even so, the news that the Yingshan Immortal Academy had obtained a medium-sized spirit vein from the swamp still spread like wildfire in the Hebei training world. In particular, the news of Elder Xian Ping from the Yingshan Immortal Academy, who was only at the 8th stage of the core forging stage, actually had the ability to fight against a Dharma adept and had even joined forces with Guo Tianshan to snatch the spirit vein from the hands of 2 Dharma adepts from the Lu Yang sect. This news shocked all the late core forging stage adepts in the Hebei training world. If previously, when Lu Ping single-handedly defeated the 3 heroes of the Gu clan with 2 swords, people thought that Lu Ping had the right to challenge Dharma adepts. This time, the battle with the Dharma adepts from the Lu Yang sect had greatly increased the status of the Yingshan Immortal Academy in the Hebei training world. Even so, many sects in the Hebei training world were still coveting the medium-sized spirit vein that the Yingshan Immortal Academy had obtained. This was because many sects that were far more powerful than the Yingshan Immortal Academy had not obtained as much as the Yingshan Immortal Academy had during this trip to the swamp. However, with the appearance of Lu Ping, the Yingshan Immortal Academy suddenly had the power of 2 Dharma adepts. This caused many sects to hesitate. At this time, Liang Tianfeng Laozu, who was disguised as an old friend of Guo Tianshan and Laozu of many years, suddenly came to visit. He congratulated his old friend on establishing a sect and becoming an ancestor. After that, he chatted with Guo Tianshan and Laozu in the Immortal Academy. From time to time, he would also give guidance to the disciples of the Immortal Academy on the cultivation path. It was as if he had become a guest of the Yingshan Immortal Academy. This time, the Yingshan Immortal Academy instantly had the power of 3 Laozu. 2 of them were true Dharma adepts, while the other was a late core forging adept who could fight against a Dharma adept. This caused many sects that wanted to force the Immortal Academy to hand over the medium-sized spirit vein to give up on their previous plans. Lu Ping waited in the Immortal Academy for close to a month but did not receive any news from the Green Fox 9 bandits. Although he was surprised, he did not take it to heart. After all, Sang Yu was from the Spirit Beast sect. Even if Sang Yu could not cure the poison herself, there was no guarantee that the sect would have an antidote for the green sea snake's poison. Since Green Fox was his sworn sister, Sang Yu naturally would not just stand by and watch. Perhaps the snake poison in her body had already been cured. However, if that was the case, Lu Ping and the Green Fox 9 bandits would become enemies in the future. Even the Yingshan Immortal Academy would become a thorn in the side of these 9 bandits. However, Lu Ping still did not take these 9 people seriously. After the previous battle, Lu Ping had a clear understanding of the power of the Green Fox 9 bandits. Although the combined power of the 9 bandits was comparable to a Dharma adept, Lu Ping was confident that these 9 people would not be able to do anything to him. Chapter 755. Now, Lu Ping was a little worried about the spells and powers that he had. All these years, Lu Ping had collected many spells and powers from all over the place, but most of them were used for reference with Lu Ping's 12 authentic techniques, combining their strengths into the 12 authentic techniques, causing Lu Ping's understanding of the 12 authentic techniques to improve with each passing day. Most of the spells that he could use were from the 12 authentic techniques, and while they were powerful, they lost their flexibility and versatility. During the trip to the swamp, especially after Lu Ping had repeatedly fought with the Dharma adepts, Lu Ping gradually felt that the spells and powers that he had were still lacking. He should put more effort into this. After all, Lu Ping now had quite a number of water-based spells and powers. Furthermore, the Sea of 100 Rivers technique that Lu Ping had yet to fully understand seemed to be a type of sword technique that could only be formed by combining hundreds of sword techniques and directly led to a supreme spell. Other than this sword technique, the Great River Flowing East sword technique that Lu Ping had yet to fully understand was also a sword technique that could directly lead to a supreme spell. This sword technique, in the North Sea Wave Listening technique, was just a great sword technique that was modified to achieve the Sea of 100 Rivers Flowing East sword technique. However, when Lu Ping observed Tian Xiang Grand Ancestor's Heavenly River of Lightning during his tribulation, he gained an epiphany and upgraded the sword skill to the level of a great technique. However, when Lu Ping practiced the sword skill, he couldn't help but feel a sense of longing. It was as if there was something he hadn't fully comprehended yet and there was still room for him to improve the sword skill further. As the saying goes, the onlooker sees the game more clearly. This time, when Liang Tianfeng and Laozu Chu Tiancheng came to Central Plains, Liang Tianfeng and Laozu brought a message from their teacher, Lu Tianling, for Lu Ping to go to the 2 major rivers of Central Plains, the Yulan River and the Skyfall River, to take a look. Lu Ping was suddenly enlightened. What was the meaning of the great river flowing eastward? Only these large rivers were truly flowing east. Perhaps that was the place for him to completely master this Fey sword art. When Lu Ping killed the 8th brother of the Supreme Mystery Sect and his party in the swamp this time, he had used a set of great swordsmanship that he had just mastered, called Serial Whirling Kill. This was a complete sword art inheritance that Lu Ping had obtained from the Yingtian sect. This inheritance was equivalent to the trunk of a giant tree. Almost all of the inherited sword art's divine abilities of the Yingtian sect were branches of this sword art inheritance, including the Flying Spiral Slash, a sword art divine ability that was specially used for dual flying swords. It was also a branch of this sword art inheritance. This sword art inheritance was given an interesting name by the Yingtian sect, called the Boiling Sky sword art. It could be considered the general outline of the entire Yingtian sect's sword art inheritance. Such a general outline of a sword art inheritance was naturally only obtained by a very small number of people in the Yingtian sect, and it was passed down by word of mouth from generation to generation of cultivators. Although this general outline was mentioned many times in the Yingtian sect's inheritance, it was never recorded. Fortunately, Lu Ping had inherited the Fei Tian Grand Ancestor's pure Yang soul. As the pure Yang Grand Ancestor with the highest status in Yingtian sect back then, the pure Yang Grand Ancestor's swordsmanship was naturally engraved in the pure Yang soul's inheritance. And this sword art, without a doubt, was like the 100 Rivers into the Sea sword art inheritance. It was also a sword art inheritance that led directly to a supreme divine ability. The difference between this and the 100 Rivers into the Sea sword art great divine ability was that in order to achieve this supreme divine ability, one must thoroughly study the Yingtian sect's sword art inheritance. And to achieve the 100 rivers into the sea sword art great divine ability, one could use it as a reference as long as it was a sword art of sufficient weight. Comparing the two, the starting point for the boiling sky sword art was undoubtedly much higher than the 100 rivers into the sea sword art. However, the power of the two ultimate divine abilities was similar, which meant that it was easier to achieve the 100 rivers into the sea sword art great divine ability. The achievement of a great divine ability could allow a core forging adept to become a master. With 3 to 5 great divine abilities, even early Dharma adepts would not be considered weak among the adepts of the same level, and a great divine ability could often become the foundation of a medium-sized sect. A Dharma adept who had achieved a great divine ability usually had the right to establish his own sect, and an adept who could achieve 2 or more great divine abilities could often be considered invincible among the adepts of the same level, and it was not difficult for them to challenge someone of a higher level. Lu Ping was currently only at the late core forging stage, but he had already mastered more than 3 to 5 great divine abilities. Among the 12 orthodox techniques of the North Sea, other than the 4 basic techniques of the water manipulation technique, wave treading technique, stone piercing technique, and raging waves technique, the other 8 techniques, with the support of Lu Ping's inner yuan that far exceeded that of other adepts of the same level, each technique could unleash the power of a great divine ability. However, in reality, the Azure Flood Dragon Disturbing the Seas sword art, Thousand Piles Snow sword art, Art of Deceiving the Heavens and Crossing the Sea, and Art of Traveling Through Clouds and Summoning Rain, could only be considered minor magic arts. The true major magic arts were the Great River Flowing East sword art and the Art of Blue Waves. After the Great River Flowing East technique had the possibility of becoming a great divine ability, other than these 3 techniques, Lu Ping now had another great divine ability, and that was the Art of Changing Seas. This great divine ability was obviously more difficult for Lu Ping to master. The last time he used this technique in the swamp, it barely reached the level of a great divine ability. In addition to these inherited divine abilities that Lu Ping had received from the system, Lu Ping also had many other divine abilities, such as the Formless Sword Technique, the 7 Treasures Thunder Calabash, the Merry Wind 18 Swords, the True Essence Sword Technique, the Water Escape Technique, the Spirit Explosion Technique, the Intentional Battle Pill, the Protective Aura Technique, the 3 Pure Eyes, the Torrent of Swordsmanship, and so on and so forth. In particular, the 7 Treasures Thunder Calabash was a complete system of divine ability cultivation. Right now, in the hands of Lu Ping, he could use the Minor Divine Ability Lightning Technique as well as the Great Divine Ability Lightning Technique. In the future, when Lu Ping gathered all 7 types of 3 mid-grade strange items, the 7 Treasures Thunder Calabash would advance to the Spirit Nurturing level, Magic Treasure, and it would be able to use the 7 Great Divine Ability Lightning Techniques. If he could go one step further and obtain the last 7 attributes of high-grade strange items, he would be able to create a Supreme Divine Ability Lightning Technique. The number 1 divine artifact of the cultivation world would then be able to show its brilliance. If he could survive the Thunder Tribulation and become a Spirit Treasure in one fell swoop, the 7 Treasures Thunder Calabash would be able to use the 7 Supreme Divine Ability Lightning Techniques, recreating the glory of the number 1 divine artifact of the cultivation world. For some unknown reason, the Cyan Fox 9 bandits didn't come looking for Lu Ping. Lu Ping put this matter to the back of his mind and began to concentrate on his secluded cultivation. His main goal was to sort out and cultivate his divine abilities and prioritize them. At the same time, Lu Ping also refined the green jade glazed liquid, a high-grade water attribute strange item that he exchanged from Sangyu in the small town outside the abundant jade swamp. Like the myriad poison liquid, the green jade glaze liquid was also a high-grade heaven and earth treasure. After Lu Ping refined the green jade glaze liquid, his protective energy barrier was no weaker than any defensive technique. In fact, it might even be stronger. His protective energy barrier was almost as strong as a spirit-nurturing grade defensive mystic treasure, or even comparable to a top-grade spirit-channeling mystic treasure like the water control flag. Lu Ping cultivated all kinds of divine abilities in seclusion. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. When he came out, Liang Tianfeng Laozu had already left to travel. However, before he left the Yingshan Immortal Academy, he had already spread the news in the cultivation world of Hebei that he had been invited to become a guest elder of the Immortal Academy. This was to intimidate the sects that coveted the Yingshan Immortal Academy. This was especially true for the Huayu sect, whose nest had been raided. Because more than half of their wealth had been taken away, the Huayu sect naturally set their sights on the newly risen but weak Yingshan Immortal Academy. If not for Liang Tianfeng Laozu's appearance and the Gu clan's warning, the Huayu sect would have jumped up and down among the 12 small sects and might have caused some trouble. After all, the Yingshan Immortal Academy did not have a deep foundation and did not have enough connections. In the Yingyu swamp, the Gu clan's direct disciple, enlightened Master Gu Hun, was rescued by Lu Ping. With Lu Ping's help, the Gu clan exposed the collusion between the Supreme Xian sect and the Spirit Marshal sect to plot against the disciples of the various sections. Hence, the Gu clan's action of stopping the Huayu sect could be considered as repaying a favor to Lu Ping or the Yingshan Immortal Academy. On the other hand, the Yingshan Immortal Academy's old neighbor, the Mountain Universe sect, had been very well behaved during this period. Perhaps they had seen the great increase in the Yingshan Immortal Academy's strength, but after the trip to the swamp, Yushang Laozu, who had always been hostile towards the Yingshan Immortal Academy, had restricted his disciples from getting into conflict with the disciples of the Yingshan Immortal Academy. At the same time, he had also urged his disciples to cultivate. It was said that 2 of his disciples, Pang Feiyun, had condensed a 7th grade golden core and were already preparing to break through to the Dharma adept stage in seclusion. As for the other one, Venerable Fei Hong, it was said that his alchemy skills had also improved greatly. Now, he could already refine pills half a step into the Dharma adept stage. His cultivation had also broken through to the 9th level of the core forging stage, becoming an influential figure in the Hebei cultivation world. Of course, these 2 still could not compare to Lu Ping's status in the Hebei cultivation world. Now, there was no one in the Hebei cultivation world who did not know that Elder Xian Ping of the Yingshan Immortal Academy was no weaker than a Dharma adept. At the same time, it was very likely that he was an alchemy grandmaster. The last piece of news was that after Venerable Fei Hong had successfully refined a pill half a step into the Dharma adept, he had once said that he had received guidance from Elder Xian Ping of the Yingshan Immortal Academy to achieve this. The Gu clan's alchemy grandmaster, Gu Zhou, had also confirmed this. Although Lu Ping did not publicly admit it, to be able to guide a half-step grandmaster like Venerable Fei Hong, who else could it be other than an alchemy grandmaster? After Lu Ping came out of seclusion, he went to look for Xiantianjinren. Although Xiantianjinren had reached the late core forging stage later than Xianbeijinren and Xuanyujinren, his accumulation in the 6th level of the core forging stage was far greater than the 2 of them. Now, he had reached the peak of the 7th level before the 2 of them. Senior, has there been anything new in the Celestial Academy in the past 3 years? Lu Ping and Xiantianjinren were chatting about some interesting news in the Hebei cultivation world, so he asked with a smile. In the past 2 years, although there have been small conflicts between the various sects, there have been no major battles. The spiritual martial sect lost 2 Dharma adepts in the Yingyu swamp, and their secret alliance with the Taishian sect was discovered by the Hebei cultivation world. After that, the Taishian sect was suppressed by the Taishian sect in the plains, and the few sects that followed the spiritual martial sect also suffered many losses. Now, the spiritual martial sect is even more isolated in the Hebei region, and their actions have been much more low-key. That's how it should be. However, although the spiritual martial sect's vitality has been damaged, it has not hurt their foundation. 2 late Dharma adepts are enough to make the other sects in the Hebei cultivation world cautious. Exactly. However, speaking of recent major events in the cultivation world, it should be related to the Qinghu 9 bandits being hunted down. Chapter 756. What Lu Ping had guessed back in the swamp was correct. The Green Fox 9 bandits were indeed planning to set up a base of operations and end their wandering life of training. In order to set up a base of operations, the first thing they had to consider was the spirit vein they needed for training. This was also why the Green Fox 9 bandits had tried to steal the small spirit vein Lu Ping had limited to. However, the Green Fox 9 bandits seemed to have forgotten that they were bandits after all, bandits of the training world. Even though they were injured and rarely stained with blood, they still had many enemies. A base of operations did not give them a peaceful life of training, but rather a place that they could not break free from. Add to that the fact that the Green Fox 9 bandits had robbed quite a lot of good stuff when they were roaming around and committing crimes all those years ago, and the Green Fox 9 bandits themselves naturally had no use for these things. As such, the rest of the items were naturally stored away by them. As a result, the rumor that the Green Fox 9 bandits didn't exist became a hot topic in the training world of the plains and Hebei. Countless enemies of the past were like cats that had smelled fish. After hearing that the Green Fox 9 bandits intended to go into seclusion, they all searched the training world of Hebei and the plains for traces of the Green Fox 9 bandits. In the end, the Green Fox 9 bandits' base of operations was found, and the hunt for the Green Fox 9 bandits began. This was especially true for the Dharma adept of the Diligent Snow sect, who had heavily injured the Green Fox 9 bandits in the battle that had made them famous. After the Green Fox 9 bandits had set up the 9 Palace Clear Void formation, they had first killed a few late core forging disciples of the Diligent Snow sect and then heavily injured the Diligent Snow sect's Laozu, which had directly led to the collapse of the Diligent Snow sect. It could be said that the Diligent Snow sect's Laozu and the Green Fox 9 bandits had a deep-seated hatred that was equivalent to the destruction of the entire sect. Among the cultivators of the plains and Hebei who had chased after the Green Fox 9 bandits, this Diligent Snow sect's Laozu had been the one who had put in the most effort. While Master Xiantian explained the matter regarding the Cyan Fox 9 bandits to Lu Ping, he failed to notice that Lu Ping's expression had turned unsightly. The Cyan Fox 9 bandits were chess pieces that Lu Ping wanted to obtain. Lu Ping had already considered them carefully. Moreover, the leader of the 9, Qing Hu, was the foster sister of the spirit-taming sect's direct disciple, Reverend Sang Yu. With this relationship, it might be an opportunity for Jinling to get closer to the spirit-taming sect in the future. Moreover, Reverend Sang Yu owed Lu Ping a favor. Although Lu Ping had used treasures such as the spirit-clearing pill and the green jade glass liquid to make up for this favor, both Reverend Sang Yu and Lu Ping knew that saving Reverend Sang Yu from the brink of destruction was not something that could be repaid with treasures. When Lu Ping arrived at the base of the Cyan Fox 9 bandits in a secluded valley in Hebei's cultivation world, Lu Ping couldn't help but shake his head when he saw the devastation of the small village. The small village had long since been reduced to ruins. Black ash from the fire could be seen everywhere. Lu Ping could clearly sense traces of the surrounding defensive formations being destroyed. At the same time, he could also sense that the Cyan Fox 9 bandits had recently changed. All of this showed that the Cyan Fox 9 bandits had put a lot of thought into this base of theirs. Lu Ping didn't know how many of the Cyan Fox 9 bandits could survive the pursuit of the two cultivation worlds. However, although Lu Ping valued the Cyan Fox 9 bandits, he only cared about their leader, Qing Hu. Although the other 8 were somewhat capable, Lu Ping didn't think much of them. As far as he was concerned, it was fine as long as he could save Qing Hu in the end. Lu Ping opened the door to the House of Gold and let Samling out. Lu Bai and Lu Ling looked around for a while before saying to Lu Ping, "Father, they've gone northeast." Among the 9 bandits, the 7th and 9th brothers had been bitten by Lu Bai and Lu Ling. Naturally, the scent of these two people was very clear. Furthermore, the snake venom in their wounds had been left behind by Lu Ping. As long as these two people did not die, Lu Ping would be able to find the Cyan Fox 9 bandits' tracks. In a place where no one else went, Qin Shui Laozu was looking at the Cyan Fox 9 bandits, who had been blocked by him and his good friend, Nan Hua Laozu. The greatest shame of his life was that he had been tricked by these 9 people. Not only had he been seriously injured, but the Diligent Snow sect that he had built up had also been destroyed. He had become the laughingstock of the Dharma adepts on the plains. Qin Shui Laozu had been plotting to kill the Cyan Fox 9 bandits, and he had been secretly tracking the Cyan Fox 9 bandits' tracks. However, he did not have much confidence in his own abilities. Thus, after finding out where the Cyan Fox 9 bandits were hiding, he had no choice but to team up with Nanhua Laozu. Qin Shui Laozu and Nanhua Laozu actually did not have a very deep relationship. It was just that although the Cyan Fox 9 bandits were famous, they were not hated by anyone. There were not many Dharma adepts who would be willing to make a move against a few juniors. This Nanhua Laozu could be said to have come looking for him. The two of them naturally hit it off. Nanhua Laozu was also helpless. How could he not know that if word of what he had done were to spread, he would definitely be looked down upon by other adepts of the same level? However, he was extremely helpless. 3 years ago, the Huayu sect had been mysteriously attacked by 2 Dharma adepts, and more than half of the Huayu sect's assets had been taken away. The Huayu sect, which had originally been considered wealthy among the small powers in the Hebei training world, had suddenly become penniless. In addition, in the Yingyu swamp, the Huayu sect's #1 expert, Qinghua Laozu, had unexpectedly fallen, and the Huayu sect's power had dropped even further. Now, in the words of mortals, the Huayu sect was already so poor that they could barely eat. In the past 3 years, the Huayu sect had not taken in a single disciple. The Huayu sect had not been able to guarantee the training resources of the sect's adepts, and everyone was living in poverty. Many of the disciples had not been determined, and had already found an excuse to leave the sect to seek their own future. This was something that the 3 Laozu of the Huayu sect were naturally anxious about. Thus, when they heard that the Cyan Fox 9 bandits might have some treasures on them, Nanhua Laozu, as a Dharma adept, had come running over. He was prepared to join forces with Qin Shui Laozu to steal the treasures that had originally belonged to the core forging adepts of the Cyan Fox 9 bandits. Cyan Fox, where do the 9 of you think you can escape to now? If you know what's good for you, then hand over all the loot you've stolen from others over the years. Perhaps Nanhua and I will give you a quick and painless end. If you still want to resist stubbornly, then we have the means to make you beg for death. Qin Shui Laozu looked at the 9 despairing people in front of him, and his heart was filled with joy. The trauma that had been left in his heart by the 9 of them all those years ago seemed to have disappeared. After the Cyan Fox 9 bandits' base had been discovered, their pursuers had quickly arrived. After a series of battles, the 9 of them had used the power of the 9 Palaces Clear Void formation to repel most of the pursuers. However, in the end, they were still blocked by the 2 Dharma adepts in front of them. As they fought, the 9 of them had suffered varying degrees of injuries, and the inner yuan in their bodies did not have much time to recover. Under normal circumstances, the 9 of them might have been able to use the 9 Palaces Clear Void formation to resist for a while, and perhaps 1 or 2 of them would have been able to escape. But now, the 9 of them seemed to have the will to die at the same time. Boss, let's fight it out with them. In a while, the few of us will hold them back. Boss, you take the opportunity to escape and avenge us in the future. After Qing Hu and Qing Lang had discussed with the other siblings, they turned to Qing Hu and said, "Don't talk nonsense. If anyone wants to leave, it should be 7th sister and 9th sister. They are the weakest, and they won't be of much help even if they stay. After we escape, we should first go to Yingshan Immortal Academy to find that Lu Xianping to get rid of the snake venom in his body. If possible, we should see if we can beg him to help our 2 sisters in Yingshan Immortal Academy. It's a pity that 8th brother is injured. Big sister, I won't leave. I want to be with everyone." Without waiting for Qing Hu to finish speaking, 8th brother, who was at the side, said anxiously, "Let 7th sister and 9th sister leave. I'm already in this state, I can't leave." "We won't leave either." 7th sister and 9th sister also protested. "Nonsense, what do you know? Today, the 9 of us have fallen. Only if one of you survives will you have any hope of revenge in the future." With the name of the 9 bandits, you will still be hated by the world of practitioners. Only by joining a sect and obtaining the protection of a sect can you have a decent life in the future. Qing Hu reprimanded in a stern voice. Then why do we have to beg that person? That person is very despicable. He used snake venom to force us. He's a complete villain. 9th sister said carefully. She still held a grudge against Lu Ping's expression that day. 7th sister also said, that's right. Big sister, let's not go beg him. If we die, we will die together. Qing Hu looked at her 2 youngest sisters helplessly. Usually, they had many big brothers and big sisters to take care of them, so they had no idea about the viciousness of the people in the cultivation world. Now is not the time to talk about this. If Big Brother Seng Yu hadn't gone to challenge the experts of the Yuan clan, I wouldn't have entrusted my 2 sisters to a small sect like Yingshan Immortal Academy. It's a pity that the cultivators of the spirit-taming beast sect come and go without a trace. Even if I wanted to ask this sworn brother for help, it's impossible. That spirit-taming beast sect has never accepted disciples with skills. What Qing Hu didn't say was that her sworn brother, Reverend Sang Yu, had a very high evaluation of Lu Ping and had some guesses about Lu Ping's origins. That guess was also the reason why Qing Hu decided to ask her 2 sisters to join Yingshan Immortal Academy. Nanhua Laozu looked at Qinxue Laozu in disdain. Qinxue Laozu, who was intoxicated by success, wanted to establish a sect and become its ancestor. It was no wonder that after she had been defeated, the sect had immediately scattered. Qinxue Laozu naturally didn't know that she was being looked down upon once again. She looked at the 9 people in front of her, who were standing in formation and whispering to each other. Although she couldn't hear what they were saying, she didn't see the Green Fox 9 bandits panicking in the face of death. Instead, she felt as if she had been ignored. Qinxue Laozu's previous happiness disappeared without a trace. Lu Ping naturally didn't know what the leader, Qing Hu, was thinking. He followed Lu Bai and Lu Ling's directions and had already arrived at the location of the desolate drone. At this time, he was using the 5 elements cloud robe to conceal himself. He was using his divine will, which far surpassed that of the 2 Dharma adepts present, to observe the situation. There are actually 2 Dharma adepts. The Green Fox 9 bandits are really unlucky to have provoked 2 Dharma adepts to lower themselves to kill them. This is going to be difficult. Chapter 757. It all depends on whether these 9 people know how to cooperate. If they can react immediately after I attack, perhaps I can save these 9 people from the hands of the 2 Dharma laws Laozu. If they work well together, perhaps these 2 Laozu will be at a disadvantage. After fighting with early Dharma adepts several times and escaping unscathed, sometimes even gaining the upper hand, Lu Ping's mentality had changed a lot. In Lu Ping's eyes, Dharma adepts were no longer high and mighty, untouchable beings. Big sister, don't say any more. You saved our lives all those years ago. If we live together. If we die together. It's not a waste of our brotherhood. The youngest 9th sister was being forced into a corner by Green Fox, and she began to throw a tantrum. This caused Green Fox to feel a surge of warmth in her heart. Big sister, this time, it was the usually rational Green Wolf who spoke. He smiled bitterly and said, actually, we all know that the one who has the highest chance of escaping is you, big sister. You are the strongest, and if you manage to escape, you are the only one who can avenge us in the future. As for the others, whether it be 7th sister, 9th sister, Qinghu, or me, it would be a miracle if we could reach the 9th level of the core forging stage. We would not even dare to dream of entering the Dharma stage. If that is the case, what is the point of 7th sister, 9th sister, or even the few of us escaping? Qing Hu looked at her siblings, and her eyes reddened. She waved her hand fiercely and said, all right, since we don't intend to run anymore, then let's fight it out with these 2 Dharma adepts. Even if we die, we won't let these 2 off easily. Brother Qinxue. Nanhua Laozu could not take it anymore and said, since these 9 people are so stubborn, we should quickly deal with them to prevent any more trouble. As for the treasures they have stolen over the years, we will leave one of them alive and use the soul-searching technique. Her casual words revealed her indifference to life and death. Qinshua Laozu smiled awkwardly and said, you are right, brother. I originally thought that the heavens were kind. Qinshua old ghost, hand over your life. Before Qinshua Laozu could get carried away, the Cyan Fox 9 bandits, 9 palaces clear void formation, suddenly activated. Cyan Fox brandished her mountain-splitting axe, and with the support of the Dao soldier formation's combined power of 9 people, she chopped it down at Qinshua Laozu's head. Qinshua Laozu's expression was extremely ugly. Back then, he had suffered a great loss under the axe of these 9 people. It was not that he could not withstand the blow, but he felt that the loss outweighed the gain. However, he had been constantly thinking about his defeat all these years and was still unable to think of a way to break out of it with his current strength. Once he retreated, he would be completely surrounded by the 9 palaces clear void formation and repeat the tragedy from back then. Therefore, he had to receive this blow. Only by receiving this blow from Cyan Fox would Qinshua Laozu be able to gain the upper hand in the 9 palaces clear void formation and escape the restraints of the formation at any time. Of course, with Qinshua Laozu's strength, it was still impossible for him to break through the Dao soldier formation and defeat the Cyan Fox 9 bandits. This was also why Qinshua Laozu had joined forces with Nan Laozu. Of course, Qinshua Laozu could retreat first and then fall into the formation to wait for Nan Laozu's rescue. With the 2 of them working together, the Cyan Fox 9 bandits would be defeated even faster. However, once he fell into the formation, Qinshua Laozu's life would no longer be in his hands. Qinshua Laozu had been in the cultivation world for hundreds of years. This time, he had only joined forces with Nan Laozu because of their mutual benefits. How could he put his life in Nan Laozu's hands? Qinshua Laozu's magic treasure was a spirit-nurturing ice jade bracelet. The jade bracelet flew high into the air, and as Qinshua Laozu made hand seals, ice walls condensed in front of the jade bracelet. 12 ice walls stood in front of him. The giant axe shattered 8 of them in a row, but its momentum did not weaken. Qinshua Laozu gritted his teeth and the remaining 4 ice walls suddenly exploded. Ice shards filled the sky, and the giant axe was sent flying. Qinshua Laozu's face was pale. Clearly, this divine ability had consumed a lot of his energy. Daoist Nan Hua, if you don't act now, when will you? Qinshua Laozu called out loudly. At this time, after Qinshua Laozu's attack on the Green Fox 9 bandits had been nullified, the 9 of them, who had already expended a lot of energy in the pursuit, looked even more exhausted now. If Nan Hua Laozu attacked them from behind, the Green Fox 9 bandits would definitely be doomed. Nan Laozu naturally would not let go of such an opportunity. The flying sword in his hand split into 9 and shot towards the 9 of them, intending to kill them all. At this time, Lu Ping was in a dilemma. At this time, Qinshua Laozu was already engaged in a full-on battle with the Green Fox 9 bandits and had no time to pay attention to anything else. This was the best time for Lu Ping to attack Qinshua Laozu. Lu Ping was confident that once he attacked, he would be able to severely injure Qinshua Laozu. If the Green Fox 9 bandits continued to hold on to Qinshua Laozu, Lu Ping might even have a chance to kill this Dharma adept. However, at this time, Nan Laozu had already attacked from behind the Green Fox 9 bandits. Even if Lu Ping could severely injure Qinshua Laozu, the Green Fox 9 bandits would definitely suffer heavy casualties. At the end of the day, how many of them would be left alive? Although Lu Ping only cared about Green Fox 9 bandits, at the last moment, Lu Ping still sighed and changed his mind. Perhaps it was because Lu Ping could already tell that the Green Fox 9 bandits had already decided to die. In this day and age, there were very few friends and brothers in the world of martial arts who could entrust their lives to each other. Wind and clouds gathered in the sky. Water vapor gathered together and formed a gloomy dark cloud above Ancestor Nanhua's head. Golden and purple lights flashed, disappeared, and flashed again in the dark cloud. A huge pressure descended from the sky. Nan Laozu, who had just raised his own treasure and was about to join forces with Qin Shui Laozu to annihilate the Green Fox 9 bandits, suddenly stopped what he was doing. Instead, he used his treasure to protect himself and looked up at the sky. Which friend is playing such a joke on me? Nan Laozu's face darkened. He could not figure out what this hidden opponent's goal was. Could it be that he wanted a share of the loot from the Green Fox 9 bandits? Could the Green Fox 9 bandits be worthy of the attention of 3 Dharma adepts? The dark clouds rolled, and the dull thunder ropes were already brewing. Bean-sized raindrops fell from the sky like powerful hidden weapons, smashing a 3-foot-deep hole in the ground. However, although the dark clouds above his head were huge, the raindrops only covered a few feet around Patriarch Nanhua. The art of traveling through clouds and summoning rain. Although this technique was not very powerful, it was difficult to deal with and almost impossible to dodge. The only way to deal with it was to take it head-on. Once it was taken head-on, it would be a never-ending process of wearing down the opponent until he was completely exhausted. Of course, this spell was also a way to conceal their tracks. Within the range of the dark clouds, even if Lu Ping and the others fought fiercely, as long as the art of moving clouds and summoning rain wasn't broken, no one outside the spell's range would be able to detect what was going on inside. However, even Lu Ping himself didn't know how powerful the skill would be if other factors were added into the process of casting it. The dark clouds flashed with all sorts of colors that made one's heart palpitate. The 7-colored light suddenly bloomed, forcing back the darkness around them. Before the sound of thunder could be heard, 7 bolts of lightning had already descended from the sky. Yin lightning of gung metal, Yin lightning of Yi wood, Yin water. Although each type of Yin lightning was not very powerful to a Dharma adept, the 7 types of Yin lightning were enough to make Nan Laozu's heart palpitate and think of something else. But whether it was Nan Laozu or Lu Ping, they both seemed to have forgotten that this was the power of the heavens. When the 7 treasures Thunder Calabash and the art of traveling through clouds and summoning rain were used together, the two actually produced a very compatible effect. At this time, whether it was the art of traveling through clouds and summoning rain or the 7 types of Yin lightning from the 7 treasures Thunder Calabash, the power produced was far greater than either of them. In fact, it was as if the two were simply added together. Are you a practitioner of the Yuan family? As soon as Nan Laozu said this, he knew that he had said the wrong thing. Although the practitioners of the Yuan family were skilled in all sorts of lightning techniques, they did not use other techniques. Nan Laozu's shout not only shocked Qin Shui, who was being surrounded by the Green Fox 9 bandits, but also the Green Fox 9 bandits themselves. The endless raindrops were like countless boulders smashing into Nan Laozu's various defenses. Although the 7 bolts of lightning were blocked by Nan Laozu, the power of the technique still affected Nan Laozu's body. Nan Laozu felt as if the inner yuan in his body had met with snow under the sun. The numbing electricity began to dissolve the inner yuan in Nan Laozu's body. Nan Laozu's inner yuan began to circulate, dissolving the discomfort. At the same time, Nan Laozu looked up at the dark clouds above his head. The clouds were flashing with different colors, as if they were preparing for the next lightning technique. Nan Laozu coldly snorted, and the magic treasure in his hand shot up into the sky. Nan Laozu then reached out with his hand, and a giant hand formed from spiritual energy reached deep into the dark clouds, as if trying to grab something from within. However, Nan Laozu's expression immediately changed. The dark clouds in the sky disappeared as he reached out with his hand. However, Qin Shui Laozu, who was surrounded by the 9 bandits, suddenly let out a miserable cry. Ancestor Nanhua knew that he'd fallen for his opponent's ploy to lure him away. When he turned around, he saw that Ancestor Qin Shui had been suppressed by a huge mountain formed from a talisman weapon. The 9 thieves had taken advantage of this opportunity to beat the old man's defensive treasure until it was on the verge of collapse. Qin Shui Laozu looked in Nan Laozu's direction, as if to ask for help from Nan Laozu. At the same time, the inner yuan in his body began to circulate. In just a moment, the practitioner weapon on his body collapsed, and a giant mountain ape appeared behind Qin Shui Laozu, as if to summon his dharma to fight with all his strength. However, in that split second of hesitation, two balls of five-colored light shot towards Ancestor Qin Shui's back one after the other. "Watch out!" Nan Laozu had just cried out when the two light balls pierced through his magic treasure, Qin Shui Laozu's protective qi, and the newly summoned mountain ape dharma. When the two light balls reappeared, they were hovering in front of Qin Shui Laozu. Chapter 758. Qin Shui Laozu looked away from the two balls of light in disbelief and looked down. All he saw was a half-foot hole in his chest. Qin Shui Laozu's lips moved as if he wanted to say something, but his life force was gone. Qin Shui Laozu fell backwards, and Nan Laozu felt a chill go from his feet to his head. Nan Laozu turned and ran. But what came at him was a ball of five-colored clouds that he couldn't see through. There seemed to be a figure flashing in the clouds. The two balls of light that killed Qin Shui Laozu flashed into the clouds. Nan Laozu was shocked, but also afraid. How did the person in front of him have his treasure go behind Qin Shui Laozu? Was the range of his psychic sense enough for his treasure to go around the two Dharma Laozu's psychic sense to attack? Nan Laozu looked at the cultivator in disbelief. He wanted to see through the five-colored clouds, but no matter what spell he used, he couldn't see through the thin layer of clouds. He had to run, he had to run. This person's power was unfathomable. People's fear often came from the fact that they couldn't verify something they didn't know. But the person in front of him didn't seem to want to let Nan Laozu go so easily. A sword light shot out of the clouds like rain falling from the sky. This sword light filled the entire space, and then the sound of the sword rose into the sky. What kind of sword skill was this? Ancestor Nanhua turned the flying sword into a light wall made of countless sword lights and sword qi, protecting Ancestor Nanhua in it. He couldn't see the cultivation of the person who stopped him, but from how easily he killed Qin Shui Laozu, the person had to be above the Dharma level. Now that the person attacked, Nan Laozu's first thought wasn't to break out, but to protect himself. Lu Ping found Nan Laozu's method funny, but Nan Laozu's current state was what Lu Ping wanted. This was a free Dharma target, perfect for Lu Ping to practice his sword skills. Seepage Sword Spell. This was also a great sword technique from the Sky-Filling Sword sect. It was also a foundational sword technique that led to the Supreme Sword technique, the Sky-Filling Sword technique. In order to cultivate this Supreme Sword Art divine ability, the Boiling Sky Sword Art, one would need a total of 4 great divine ability sword arts from the Sky Traversing Sword Art inheritance as the foundation. Lu Ping had only practiced the Flying Spiral Chain Kill before, which was a great sword skill for dual flying swords. Now, the Seepage Sword spell that Lu Ping was using was another great sword skill from the Sky Sword sect. When this sword skill was created by the Sky Sword sect's ancestors, it was because the mountain where the Sky Sword sect was located had been soaked by the Ying River for many years. Even though there was a protective array protecting it, the foundation had softened and sunk. Feeling the pervasive power of the Ying Tian River, a genius swordsman of the Ying Tian sect created this seeping water sword technique. Later on, it was perfected by generations of cultivators of the Ying Tian sect, and the power of this sword technique gradually increased. In the end, it became another set of water attribute divine sword techniques of the Ying Tian sect. Nan Laozu could use the sword light to weave a wall of sword light to block Lu Ping's attack. Lu Ping could use it to test if his Seepage Sword spell could find the flaw in Nan Laozu's sword skill and use the sword light to penetrate the wall of sword light. By the time Nan Laozu realized that Lu Ping was using him to practice, Lu Ping's Seepage Sword spell had already penetrated Nan Laozu's defense. The tiny sword light was like needles stabbing into Nan Laozu's skin. After all, He was facing a Dharma adept. Even though Lu Ping's seepage sword spell had already reached a certain level, after penetrating Nan Laozu's sword light wall, he was at the end of his rope. Nan Laozu's protective spell was activated, and the countless tiny sword lights were shattered. But it was too late for Nan Laozu. The Green Fox 9 bandits knew that they had strong reinforcements. The sudden change from being controlled by someone else to controlling the lives of others made the 9 extremely excited. Who would be willing to die now that they had a chance to live? With Lu Ping suppressing them from the side, the Green Fox 9 bandits easily set up the 9 Palace Clear Void formation and surrounded Nan Laozu in it. A strange wave spread out from the ancient Dao soldier formation, directly sealing off the surrounding space. Even if a Dharma adept used his Dharma and space powers, he would not be able to break through the seal of this formation. Nan Laozu cursed under his breath. He was a very decisive person. After realizing that he had been tricked, he immediately summoned his Dharma. Nan Laozu's Dharma was a giant turtle, but this turtle had a tail that was as long as a snake's. With a sweep of its giant tail, it knocked away Green Fox's giant axe. At the same time, its 4 limbs and head retracted into the turtle's shell. Before Lu Ping's flying whirlwind kill could reach Nan Laozu, it was dispelled by the giant turtle Dharma. Lu Ping, who was hidden in the cloud light 5 elements robe, knew the power of the Dharma. He raised the landslide in his hand, and it transformed into a giant silver seal in the sky. It descended towards Nan Laozu's Dharma, which had already shrunk into its shell. Nan Laozu reached out a finger, and the landslide was immediately stopped in mid-air by a huge force. Then, the giant turtle Dharma, which had been hiding in the shell, suddenly began to roll, crashing into the 9 Palace Clear Void formation that had trapped Nan Laozu. Without the protection of the Dharma, Nan Laozu's own power would undoubtedly decrease greatly. But now, Nan Laozu could not care less. He knew his own power. Although he was much stronger than Qin Shui Laozu, it was still limited. Now that he was surrounded by the Green Fox 9 bandits and the person hidden in the 5-colored clouds, if he did not escape soon, Qin Shui Laozu, who was now lying on the ground, would be a good example. Nan Laozu's plan was that even if he was heavily injured without the protection of the Dharma, as long as the Dharma could create an opening in the 9 Palace Clear Void formation, then it would all be worth it. Nan Laozu's plan was not wrong, but he was taking it for granted. Without the protection of the Dharma, Nan Laozu would not only be heavily injured, but he could also be killed. Seeing Nan Laozu give up the protection of the Dharma, Lu Ping made a decision. His face suddenly became serious, and he pushed forward with his hand. A giant golden hand suddenly appeared in front of Nan Laozu. The hand clenched as if it wanted to crush Nan Laozu. The Dharma treasure flying sword in Patriarch Nan Hua's hand slashed horizontally in an attempt to cut off the palm. Unexpectedly, there was a chi-chi sound as the flying sword sliced through the palm. A thick wisp of smoke rose from the flying sword. Patriarch Nan Hua's expression changed. This flying sword was a spirit-nurturing flying sword that he had used for many years. When he saw the mottled spots on the flying sword, he couldn't help but feel his heart ache. At this time, Nan Laozu did not dare to fight against the giant hand that Lu Ping had pushed forward. He quickly retreated, but the protective astral energy around Nan Laozu's body was torn apart like tofu by the giant hand. Nan Laozu's body flashed with light. In just a moment, the protective astral energy that had collapsed was once again propped up. Nan Laozu's face was unusually ugly as she looked at Lu Ping, who was surrounded by the colorful clouds. 10,000 poison serum. This technique, called one hand to hold the heavens and earth, was just a small technique that Jinling had passed down. Lu Ping saw that this technique might be useful in the world of training, so he used it to train. But today, after Lu Ping filled the giant hand with the 10,000 poison serum, under the control of Lu Ping's water control technique, he did not expect it to have such a miraculous effect. Even the protective astral energy of a Dharma adept would have a miraculous effect, and he almost suffered a great loss. Boom! The giant turtle Dharma slammed into the 9-palace clear void matrix. Cracks appeared in the air and then closed up again. The Cyan Fox 9 bandits were all knocked back by the force of the collision. 7th sister, 8th sister, and 9th sister, who were the weakest among them, fell to the ground on their butts. Luckily, with Green Fox, Green Tiger, and Green Wolf, who were the strongest among them, the 9-palace clear void matrix did not break. Whoosh! Just as the turtle Dharma slammed into the 9-palace clear void matrix, Lu Ping's attack came again. The flying sword in Nan Laozu's hand was blocked by the autumn dew sword, and Lu Ping's flowing sword followed. It was like a vast river falling from the 9 heavens. Because Lu Ping had observed the lightning river during Laozu's tribulation, he had gained enlightenment. This made the great river flow's east sword technique very different from the original one, but its power was not the least bit weaker. Furthermore, this sword technique that brought along a river of the heavens could be seen everywhere. Not only was there the cold sword light and sword chi, there were also sparks of lightning. It seemed that he had greatly underestimated the 7 treasure thunder gourd. The 7 treasures thunder calabash hovered above Lu Ping's head. Thunders that were like heavenly rivers of lightning merged into the great river flows east, and swept toward Patriarch Nan Hua. Kacha! Nan Laozu seemed to have seen the danger. From the shell of the giant turtle Dharma, a giant turtle head popped out and slammed into the 9-palace clear void matrix. This time, it finally opened a gap in the 9-palace clear void matrix. Puchi! This was because the internal organs of the Azure Fox 9 bandits had been affected and shaken the instant the 9 palaces clear void formation was destroyed. Coupled with the fact that they'd been continuously fighting their pursuers for the past few days, they were like an arrow at the end of its flight. So, internal injuries were naturally unavoidable. Puchi! Nan Laozu also coughed up blood. Under the unparalleled power of Lu Ping's great river flow's east sword technique, Nan Laozu finally gave Lu Ping an opportunity to send him flying with a flowing sword. But at this time, Nan Laozu had a happy expression. Using the power of Lu Ping's attack, he fled out of the 9-palace clear void matrix. Want to run? But it was too late. Chapter 759. He wanted to run, but it was too late now. The 9th-tier white jade lotus appeared in front of Lu Ping's chest. As the petals opened, the lotus grew from the size of a fist to 3 feet wide. When the lotus had completely bloomed, a beam of light shot out from the stamens, forming a beam of light in midair that shot towards Nan Laozu. At this time, Nan Laozu had already escaped from the gap that the Dharma giant turtle had created. The long sword in his hand slashed forward, and a door appeared in front of Nan Laozu. However, just as Nan Laozu was about to experience the joy of escaping, Nan Laozu, who had been about to step into the door, suddenly opened his eyes wide. His face was still frozen in a gloomy expression, but his eyes were filled with fear. A pale white light surrounded Nan Laozu's body. It was this beam of light that had shot out from the white jade lotus that had completely frozen a Dharma adept in midair. The door in front of him shook and then closed up again. Nan Laozu's inner yuan surged from within his body, and the white light immediately dissipated. However, Nan Laozu's face was not the least bit happy. Instead, his face was full of despair. A black shadow flashed by, and Nan Laozu's head flew into the air. When the black shadow stopped, a sharp screeching sound came from behind the black shadow. Qing Hu's giant axe spun in the air. Just now, when Lu Ping had used the white jade lotus to freeze Nan Laozu, Qing Hu had used her own giant axe to chop off Nan Laozu's head. But how could a Dharma adept die just because his head was chopped off? Without waiting for Nan Laozu's corpse to fall from midair, Nan Laozu's chest suddenly exploded. A giant turtle broke through Nan Laozu's core space, and with a sweep of its long tail, it fled in the southwest direction. Not good, quickly destroy the Dharma, or this Nan Laozu will be able to reincarnate. If we don't kill the snake, we will definitely be harmed in the future. Qing Hu exclaimed from the side. However, the Green Fox 9 bandits had just fought with Patriarch Nanhua's Dharma power, and they no longer had any spiritual power left. It was only because of Green Fox's talent that she was able to conserve her last attack. She did not know that the reason why Dharma adepts were called Dharma adepts was because the Dharma power that was formed in their core space was the embryo of their immortal soul. A seed was not so easily destroyed. Qing Hu also knew that there was no hope for her brothers and sisters. Her shout was actually directed at Lu Ping, whose face was concealed by the 5 elements' cloudy robe. However, just as Qing Hu's words left her mouth, a strange sound of thunder came from the sky. Qing Hu looked towards the source of the sound and saw a 7-colored bolt of lightning descending from the sky. The Dharma giant turtle let out a long cry of despair and was reduced to ashes in one fell swoop. A dense and suffocating spiritual energy erupted from the collapsed Dharma idol. The intense spiritual energy stirred up a storm in the surrounding wilderness, spreading far and wide. It wouldn't be long before cultivators sensed the abnormality of the spiritual energy in this place and rushed over to investigate. The multicolored cloud slowly flew towards the Cyan Fox 9 bandits. Although the 9 bandits were curious as to who had saved their lives, they were, after all, men who had been in the world of cultivation for a long time. Although they were vigilant, they were unable to muster up the slightest resistance in their current state. As the leader, Qing Hu was the first to express her gratitude. "The 9 of us thank you for saving our lives, Senior. Please leave your name, we will definitely repay you in the future. Repayment is a must." The clouds slowly faded away, turning into a thin layer of gauze that fell on Lu Ping's body. Seeing the shocked expressions of the 9 pirates, Lu Ping smiled proudly and said, "There's no need to repay me in the future. If you have the ability, why don't you repay me now? It's you." Qing Hu, who was originally exhausted, suddenly found the strength to jump up from the ground. Immediately after, he felt someone grab his leg. When he looked down, he saw Qing Hu shaking his head at him. Apart from Qing Hu, the Green Fox 9 pirates were all shocked. What did they just see? Today, 2 Dharma adepts, Laozu, died at the hands of this person. Before this, the 9 of them had thought that the cultivator who had come to save them was a Dharma adept, Laozu. However, the truth was right in front of their eyes. The person who had saved them was not only someone they hated, but also a core forging adept. Qing Hu, who had been stopped by Qing Hu, finally calmed down. He looked at Lu Ping in a daze, speechless. Qing Hu and Qing Hu were also core forging level 8 adepts. If they were in Lu Ping's shoes, they would not have been able to kill 2 Dharma adepts, even with the help of the 9 Palace Clear Void spell. Lu Ping smiled as he looked at Qing Hu, who had fallen to the ground to recover his inner yuan, and Qing Lang, who was beside him. Then, he looked at 7th sister and 9th sister, whose eyes had lit up ever since he had revealed his identity. He smiled and said, "I was wondering why the 9 pirates were so close to each other, but this time, they did not even want their own sister's life. It turns out that they have been chased to this extent, and they did not even have the chance to treat their own sister's injuries." Qing Hu suddenly opened his eyes and shouted at Lu Ping, "Lu Ping, if you want to kill me, do whatever you want, but if you want to sow discord between us, don't even think about it." Lu Ping's expression turned serious and he didn't mind Qing Hu's words. Qing Hu was obviously a brute. Instead, he glanced at Qing Lang, who had a solemn expression on his face, and said to Qing Hu, "How long do the 9 of you want to live like rats on the street?" Qing Lang's eyes flashed with an almost undetectable light, but it did not escape Lu Ping's eyes. Qing Hu also understood the meaning behind Lu Ping's words, but she still looked at Lu Ping and said word by word, "Elder Xian Ping, what do you mean by this?" Lu Ping smiled faintly and waved his hand, opening the door to the House of Gold. Once upon a time, Lu Ping had kept the House of Gold a secret. Now that the House of Gold was in Lu Ping's hands, he did not mind letting others know about it. Lu Ling skipped out from inside and giggled at the crowd. She then ran towards old ancestor Qin Shui's corpse, which was killed by Lu Ping's 2 origin Qin beads that had condensed 7 seals and reached the spirit nurturing grade. Lu Ping looked at Lu Linger and shook his head helplessly. Lu Bai, who appeared later, called out to her little sister. When she saw that her little sister was nowhere to be seen, she walked over to 7th sister and touched her leg. The snake venom that had been bothering 7th sister for 3 years was instantly removed by Lu Bai. 7th sister looked at the indifferent little girl in front of her and recalled the words of eldest sister's sworn brother, Reverend Sangyu from the mysterious spirit beast sect. She couldn't help but shrink back. The little girl in front of her was very likely to be the green sea snake. Lu Bai smiled and didn't care. When she turned around, she saw that Lu Linger had happily picked up the ice snow jade bracelet from Qin Shui Laozu's body. This magic weapon was very compatible with her cultivation method. Last time, Lu Ping obtained a spirit-nurturing magic weapon, the mysterious halberd. Lu Hai coaxed and pestered him to get it. He showed it off in front of Lu Linger and Lu Qiner. This made Lu Linger so angry that she ran over to Lu Ping and caused trouble several times. She also wanted an ice attribute spirit-nurturing magic weapon. How could a spirit-nurturing magic weapon be so easy to get? How could a spirit-nurturing magic weapon be so easy to get? Jinling could be considered a powerful force among the medium-sized sects, but a spirit-nurturing magic weapon was also a rare existence among the second-generation disciples of the late core forging stage. How could it be so easy to get it? For this reason, Lu Ping reprimanded Lu Hai and Lu Linger. Lu Hai was sturdy and had obtained the mysterious halberd. Naturally, he would smile mischievously at Lu Ping's reprimand. However, Lu Linger felt wronged. After Lu Ping killed Qin Shui Laozu, this ice snow jade bracelet had long been in Lu Linger's eyes. Therefore, when Lu Ping released Lu Linger and Lu Bai to remove the snake venom from Qin Shui Laozu's body, Lu Linger unexpectedly searched for the jade bracelet on Qin Shui Laozu's body. After removing the snake venom from 9th sister's body, Lu Linger put the jade bracelet on her wrist and walked over to Lu Ping with a smile. She unconsciously hid behind Lu Bai, clearly afraid of Lu Ping's reprimand. However, Lu Ping couldn't be bothered to pay attention to her. On the contrary, Qing Hu looked at the 2 little girls in astonishment. She stood up and looked straight at Lu Ping. She asked, "Elder Xian Ping removed the snake venom from my 2 sisters just like that. Aren't you afraid that my brother and sister will reveal the identities of the 2 little girls?" Green sea snake. Hee, if this news were to spread in the cultivation world, I wonder what Elder Xian Ping and the Yingshan Immortal School behind you would do. A light flashed through Lu Ping's eyes. He smiled and said, "If you wanted to reveal it, you would have done so long ago. Why would you wait until today? For Brother Sang to recognize you as his sworn sister, I believe your character is not so bad." Qing Hu didn't deny it. She stared into Lu Ping's eyes and said, "Elder Xian Ping, if you have something to say, just say it. What do you want us siblings to do?" "Good." Lu Ping chuckled. "Join the Yingshan Immortal School. The Immortal School will provide protection for the 9 of you. From now on, there will be no more Qing Hu 9 bandits in the cultivation world. There will only be 9 third-generation core forging disciples of the Yingshan Immortal School." Qing Lang keenly noticed the hidden meaning in Lu Ping's words. Third-generation disciples. It is said that the Yingshan Immortal School was only founded a little more than a decade ago. There are only 3 generations in total, and the most outstanding of the third-generation disciples are those who have just entered the blood condensation realm. Do you want us to be like these ignorant children and have to call you Martial Uncle when we see you? Who told you that those disciples are third-generation cultivators of the Yingshan Immortal School? Lu Ping said to Qing Lang with a smile. He looked at Qing Lang's pensive expression and thought to himself that only Qing Hu and Qing Lang understood this. He continued, I am a third-generation disciple of the Yingshan Immortal School. Chapter 760. Lu Ping didn't mind giving everyone some space to think, but the stupid tiger, Qing Hu, didn't fall for it. He gloomily said, "So you're just a junior." In Yingshan Immortal Academy, Lu Ping appeared as Guo Tianshan Laozu's disciple. Lu Ping was a third-generation disciple, so Guo Tianshan Laozu was naturally a second-generation disciple. Then, who were the first-generation cultivators of Yingshan Immortal Academy, and what level of cultivation did they reach? Since Yingshan Immortal Academy still had first-generation cultivators, why didn't they show themselves? Where were they hiding? Could it be that Guo Tianshan was the only second-generation cultivator? Could it be that Yingshan Immortal Academy only displayed this little bit of strength on the surface? Qing Hu once again recalled her sworn brother's guess. Could it be that Yingshan Immortal Academy really was backed by an even stronger faction? Or could it be that the faction hiding behind Yingshan Immortal Academy was really, as her sworn brother had guessed, a faction from the ocean? What kind of protection can your sect provide us? Qing Lang immediately saw the hesitation in his big sister's eyes. There were some things that a leader like her could not easily say. Since Qing Lang was not in charge, it was much more convenient for her to speak. Lu Ping glanced at Qing Lang, then smiled at Qing Hu. He seemed to have sensed the tacit understanding between the two, so he said, "I have a life and death brother of the same sect. His mother is a direct descendant of the Ice Ho race." Once Lu Ping said this, the expressions of the 9 people in front of him instantly changed. A decisive killing intent brewed in the air, and the situation seemed to become tense. Qing Hu stared into Lu Ping's eyes and asked word by word, "How do you know?" Lu Ping smiled and said, "You don't need to know how I know. Just know that I can guarantee that I will treat all of you equally and will not discriminate against you." Qing Hu's expression fluctuated. This time, Qing Lang did not interrupt. Clearly, he wanted to leave the decision to Qing Hu. Moments later, Qing Hu asked, "What do we need to do?" Lu Ping immediately laughed when he heard this. "I need you to act as a hidden power for Yingshan Immortal Academy, or to do some things that Yingshan Immortal Academy cannot do. You have to know that there will always be a group of people like this behind every sect. However, their title is often called Punished Cultivators. However, Yingshan Immortal Academy has only been established for a short period of time, so its power is rather weak. Even if there are some disciples who have been punished, they cannot do much." Just as Cyan Fox was about to speak, Lu Ping raised his hand to stop her. Then, Lu Ping continued, "I also need your connections among the loose cultivators. I need the fastest way to gather information in the cultivation world. Mara has begun to appear on a large scale. I believe you know what that means. We can do these things, but just relying on your Immortal Academy's strength isn't enough. You've also said that Yingshan Immortal Academy was only recently established, so how much power can it display on the surface?" Azure Fox glanced at the siblings behind her as she spoke, choosing her words carefully. Lu Ping slapped his forehead in realization. "I understand. I'll try my best to find all the cultivation methods you need. If that doesn't work, then there's nothing I can do. You don't need to worry about pills and the like. I believe Brother Sangyu has already told you about this. I'm a pill refiner myself. There's still the second condition. Speak. We only trust you. Although the power behind you provides us with protection, you are the only ally among the 9 of us. I'm really flattered by this." Lu Ping smiled and thought for a moment. He knew what kind of storm it would cause if the other cultivators in the sect found out about this condition. However, he still nodded and said, "Is there a third condition?" "Yes." At this point, Qing Hu no longer had any misgivings. She directly said, "Kill a person for us. If you kill this person, the 9 of us will be at your disposal." Qing Hu was the first to react. He opened his mouth and said, big sister, Qing Hu reached out to stop Qing Hu. At this time, the other bandits also understood what Qing Hu wanted to say. Their eyes were filled with anticipation and suspicion. Lu Ping instinctively felt that this condition wouldn't be easy to fulfill, but he still said, "This condition is probably the reason why you're willing to rely on Immortal Academy's protection. Tell me about it." Several days later, the news that Qin Shui Laozu and Nanhua Laozu were killed by Qing Hu and the other 9 bandits shocked the entire cultivation world of Hebei and the plains. This news was no longer limited to these 2 places. At this time, Lu Ping had already brought 9 late-stage core forging adepts back to Yingshan Immortal Academy. After meeting with Guotian Shan Laozu, these 9 adepts became outer sect disciples of Yingshan Immortal Academy. Half a year later, the Cyan Fox 9 bandits, who had stirred up an endless storm in Hebei's cultivation world, encountered the Yingshan Immortal Academy's elder Lu Xianping in the northern ice plains. The battle between the 2 lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, elder Lu Xianping defeated the 9 bandits. In the end, none of the Cyan Fox 9 bandits managed to escape. All of them were killed by elder Lu Xuanping's sword. Lu Xianping from Yingshan Immortal Academy shocked the cultivation world of Hebei. However, soon after, there was news that Lu Xianping had been seriously injured in the battle with the 9 bandits. He was brought back by Guotian Shan Laozu and was now recovering in seclusion in Immortal Academy. The news dispelled many people's suspicions. Since the Qing Hu and the 9 bandits could even kill Dharma adepts, then no matter how powerful Lu Xianping was, he was still just a core forging adept. How could he emerge unscathed from the battle with the 9 bandits? But even so, Yingshan Immortal Academy's elder Lu Xuanping's name was enough to attract the attention of those who paid attention. His fame had already surpassed the limits of Hebei's cultivation world. Many cultivators had already begun to compare him with those heaven-shaking large sects and even the direct disciples of the 5 great sacred grounds. However, it was clear that elder Lu Xuanping's injuries were more serious this time. For 5 years, there was no news of him in Hebei's cultivation world. Yingshan Immortal Academy once again became low-key and focused on developing their own strength. The cultivation of their disciples had improved by leaps and bounds in these 5 years. Many disciples from Yingshan Immortal Academy began to roam the cultivation world of Hebei. There was a rumor in Hebei's cultivation world that this was because Yingshan Immortal Academy had obtained the treasures of the Qing Hu and the 9 bandits. In reality, this speculation was not wrong. After the Qing Hu and the 9 bandits submitted to Yingshan Immortal Academy, all the cultivation resources that they had obtained in Hebei and the plains had been handed over to Yingshan Immortal Academy. These treasures contained a large number of low-level cultivation resources. They were not very useful to the late core forging adepts of the Qing Hu and the 9 bandits, but they were very beneficial to the blood refining and blood condensation disciples of Yingshan Immortal Academy. In addition to the spoils of war they had obtained from the 2 Dharma adepts, Qin Shui Laozu and Nanhua Laozu. Qin Shui Laozu, in particular, had brought most of the cultivation resources with him after the collapse of the Diligent Snow sect. Now, all of this had benefited Yingshan Immortal Academy. During these 5 years, Adept Xiantian had broken through to the 8th stage of the core forging stage. Adept Xiankai had also broken through the bottleneck of the mid-core forging stage and broken through to the 7th stage. The Qing Hu and the 9 bandits had received the complete inheritance of the cultivation system, Guotian Shan Laozu's guidance, and a stable cultivation environment. During these 5 years, Lu Ping did not stay at Yingshan Immortal Academy. Lu Ping, who had returned to his original appearance, followed the Ying River south, finally joining it in the Yulon River. The vast waters of the Yulon River seemed to have descended from the heavens, flowing towards the east. However, Lu Ping didn't stop to admire this magnificent masterpiece that he had admired for a long time. Instead, he crossed the Yulon River and entered the Hunan training world. He then turned west, passing through the Purple Sun training world where one of the 5 great holy lands, the Purple Sun Palace, crossed over the mountains in the west, and finally entered the West Barren. Aside from the 12 regions of the Central Plains, there were also the Eastern Overseas Training World, the Western Wastelands, the Southern Endless Mountains, and the Northern Icy Plains. The Yingshan mountain range where the Yingshan Immortal Academy was located was on the border between the Hebei Training World and the Northern Icy Plains. Right now, Lu Ping was in the Western Wastelands of the Central Plains. This place was vast but sparsely populated. It was remote and desolate, a traditional region of the monster race. In the past, this did not mean that the western wilderness only had monsters. It could only be said that the monster race was the most powerful in this region. It was just like how the Central Plains was a traditional region of the human race, but in the wild mountains, rivers, and lakes of the Central Plains, there was still a vast amount of monster power. The city Lu Ping was in right now was a gathering place for human cultivators in the western wilderness. It seems the Pegasus clan and the Koi clan are about to fall out again. Or is it because of the river source? Aside from the river source, what other reason could there be? For the sake of the river source, these two races have been fighting for over 10,000 years. Seriously, can't the two races just sit down and discuss this? Even if they take turns to take over the river source, it's still better than causing rivers of blood every time. Take turns to take over. Who took over the river source first? Are they willing to give it up? Isn't it better to have rivers of blood? In any case, it's just internal strife between the monster race. More deaths are actually beneficial to our human race. Brother, do you think the Water clan will win the battle between the two clans? It's hard to say. These two races are both top races among the monster race. Their strength is equal to each other. Over the past 10,000 years, there have been victories and defeats. It's possible that one of them will take over the river source. That's as good as not saying anything. However, I think the Koi clan will win. As the name suggests, the river source is a place with water. The Koi clan is a member of the water race, so they have an innate advantage. I don't think so. In recent years, the Pegasus clan has produced many young talents. It is said that their strength is comparable to the direct disciples of the Purple Sun Palace. Besides, the river source is filled with water. Once one's strength reaches a certain level, what's the difference between being in or not being in the water? Don't forget about Western Desolation Palace. Last time, Western Desolation Palace wanted to take advantage of the war between the two races to reap the benefits. However, they were nearly ambushed by the combined forces of the two races. Will Western Desolation Palace just stand by and do nothing this time? That's true. Who knows, Purple Sun Palace might get involved as well. Surely not. Purple Sun Palace will return as well. Why not? A few days ago, someone discovered cultivators from Purple Sun Palace appearing nearby. There's no guarantee that Purple Sun Palace won't get a share of the spoils this time. That's true. I heard that Mara has appeared on a large scale in the cultivation world of Hebei. The various sects in the cultivation world of Hebei have suffered greatly from him. Right now, both the human and Yao races are probably in a state of panic. They will need to make some preparations. Lu Ping's divine sense swept through the tea house in the market, searching for any information that could be useful to him. Moments later, Lu Ping kept the tea set before him. Tossing a mid-grade spirit stone over, he walked out of the tea house and headed straight for the exit of the market. Chapter 761. Lu Qiner's cultivation was already on the verge of breaking through to the late core forging realm. Once she reached the late core forging realm, Lu Ping would have to prepare for her return to the Fire Phoenix clan's inheritance land to receive the inheritance. Apart from her, Samling would also have to return to the Green Sea Snake's inheritance land before advancing to the Transcendence realm to choose a suitable inheritance for himself. However, Lu Ping obviously didn't want Lu Qiner to break through to the mid-core forging realm now. This time, when he came to the western wilderness, he grabbed Lu Qiner as his able-bodied man. As of now, Lu Qiner's true body had grown to an astonishing size as her cultivation base grew. Her wingspan was at least 15 meters, and when she flew several hundred meters in the air, she left a huge black shadow on the ground. Lu Ping leisurely sat cross-legged on Lu Qiner's back. Ever since Lu Qiner advanced to the core forging realm, Lu Ping rarely used Lu Qiner as a mount. The western wilderness wasn't really barren. On the contrary, when riding on Lu Qiner's back and looking at the endless prairie, it suddenly made people feel that the sky was high and the earth was high, making people feel very broad-minded. A clear sound was heard, and Lu Qiner suddenly swooped down from the sky. When Lu Ping looked down, he saw that there seemed to be something fleeing in the thick grass. Wherever it passed, the grass would sway. Just as Lu Qiner was about to hit the ground, he saw Lu Qiner's wings flapping, and its rapidly descending body suddenly pulled up. Its pair of sharp claws reached down as far as possible, sinking into the grass that was 3 feet high. Lu Qiner's wings flapped again, and its huge body soared straight up. Its pair of sharp claws brought out a gray sand fox from the grass. Lu Ping scanned the sand fox with his divine will and found that it was in the blood condensation realm. Slightly moved, he took out the devil transformation bracelet from his cuff and put it on his wrist. Lu Qiner transformed into a human and slowly landed on the prairie with Lu Ping. Lu Qiner was holding a small trembling fox in her arms. It seemed that Lu Qiner had taken it as a pet on a whim. Lu Ping gestured to Lu Qiner to put the small fox on the ground. Then he looked at the little fox that had curled up on the ground and said, "Foxes are naturally intelligent. Now you should understand what I'm saying. Let me ask you, are we in the Green Hill Plain?" He looked at the little fox's eyes and said, "You can lie all you want. I don't mind killing an ant." Lu Qiner giggled, and the little fox's already curled up body slumped to the ground. However, its eyes were still fixed on Lu Ping and not on the perpetrator of this prank, Lu Qiner. Although it could feel the heavy pressure from Lu Qiner, its instincts told it that this ordinary-looking young man before it was even more dangerous. This could be said to be an instinct born from a monster cultivator's transformation into a wild beast. The little fox nodded. Lu Ping's face was as calm as an ancient well. He spat out 2 words, "Speak." Monsters in the late stage of the blood condensation realm could only speak and transform after taking a bone-melting pill or a transformation pill. However, foxes were different. Although foxes were not the direct descendants of the 7th patriarch, their innate intelligence was no weaker than top-level monsters. They could speak after reaching the blood condensation realm. "Senior, this is the Green Hill Plain. I'm just a little monster. I don't know anything. Please let me go." The little sand fox knew what to do and immediately spoke. Lu Ping smiled and said, "Since it's the Green Hill Plains, then you must be from the Sand Fox clan. Do you know of the Green Fox clan's Qing Fox clan?" "The Green Fox clan." The little fox raised its left front paw and made a scratching gesture on its head. Then, as if remembering something, it said, "I've heard from the seniors in the clan that there used to be a Green Fox clan in the Green Hill Fox clan. However, something happened to the Green Fox clan a few decades ago, and we offended the Pegasus clan. The Pegasus clan came to question us, but we were no match for the Pegasus clan. In the end, we had no choice but to swallow our grievances and banish the Green Fox clan. After the Cyan Fox bloodline was expelled from the Pleading Fox clan, the Pegasus clan began to hunt down the Cyan Fox bloodline. Many clansmen fled in all directions, but even more were killed by the Pegasus clan." Lu Ping listened quietly to the little fox's story, then asked, "Do you know what happened to the Green Fox clan, and why they were hunted down by the Pegasus clan?" The little fox shook its head and said, "I don't know about this. The elders in the clan are very secretive about this matter. I overheard it by accident." It's just some gossip that the elders in the clan were talking about. Lu Ping glanced at the little fox, and his eyes pierced the little fox like a knife. But Lu Ping laughed and said, "Little fox, what's your name?" "My surname is Tu, and my first name is Chun." The little fox's face turned pale from Lu Ping's piercing glare and it couldn't even speak properly. "What do you know about the Pegasus clan?" "The Pegasus clan? That's one of the royal clans of the Western Wilderness Prairie, and they are the direct descendants of Jiao Daoren, one of the 7 saints of the Creator. Our Green Hill Fox clan is also a powerful clan in the Western Wilderness Prairie. If we hadn't offended the Pegasus clan, the Green Fox clan would not have been forced into such a situation." Lu Ping could clearly hear a trace of resentment towards the Pegasus clan from the little fox's mouth. "You just said that the Pegasus clan is just one of the royal clans of the prairie. Are there other royal clans?" The so-called royal clans of the Demon Clan actually referred to the direct descendants of the 7 saints of the Creator, the top demon clans in the cultivation world. Yes. The little fox somehow looked a little excited. Lu Ping glanced at the little fox's lower body, but he did not speak. He just listened to the little fox with a smile. There are 3 royal clans in the Western Wilderness Prairie. In addition to the Pegasus clan, there are the white-fronted tigers with the direct descendants of Taoist Hu, and the green-eyed golden eagles with the direct descendants of Peng Daoren. Oh, why do I hear that there is a Khoi clan in the Western Wilderness? Khoi clan. Their Tianmen Palace is indeed in the Western Wilderness, but it is in the middle of the Yulon River. The power of the Khoi clan covers the entire Yulon River. The Western Wilderness is mainly the prairie, which is not the sphere of influence of the Khoi clan. What about the source of the river? Why does the Pegasus clan want to use the Khoi clan to fight for the source of the river? The source of the river. Since you know the source of the river, how can you not know why the 2 clans are fighting for it? The little fox blurted out, but he immediately realized that his words were inappropriate. Sure enough, Lu Qiner stepped on the little fox's tail. The little fox cried out in pain, but he did not dare to move at all. He remained lying on the ground. "Just tell me what I asked. Why do you have so much nonsense?" Lu Qiner was a qualified female delinquent, a thug type. However, at this moment, Lu Qiner's face changed. She kicked the little fox, Tu Chun, who was curled up on the ground. A broken jade talisman appeared under the little fox's body. No wonder he was still lying on the ground after being stepped on by Lu Qiner. It turned out that he was trying to hide the talisman from others. Seeing that the situation was not good, the little fox turned around and tried to escape. Unexpectedly, as soon as he jumped up, his body spasmed again, and he fell to the ground with a scream. His big furry tail was stepped on by Lu Qiner again. "Little guy, you're courting death." Lu Qiner did not expect that this little thing in the blood condensation realm could play such tricks under her nose. She immediately wanted to kill the little fox. Lu Ping reached out to stop Lu Qiner. He looked down at the jade talisman on the ground and said, "Okay, don't make things difficult for this little guy. His parents are coming. Let's go first." Lu Qiner's arms turned into a huge pair of wings and hovered toward the sky. Lu Ping stood on the broad back of Qing Wan and threw 3 jade bottles to the little fox who was suppressed by Lu Qiner's bloodline coercion. He said, "This is your reward. Keep it well." Lu Qiner let out a long cry, flapped her wings a few times and disappeared into the sky. Only then did the little fox Tu Chun dare to stand up. Looking at the jade bottles under his feet, Tu Chun hesitated for a moment but still picked them up. After opening one of the jade bottles, a strong medicinal fragrance rushed out of the jade bottle and went straight into Tu Chun's nose. Tu Chun suddenly felt a burst of joy all over his body. This was an elixir, and an excellent elixir. It was probably an elixir from the hands of a human alchemist. Tu Chun's face lit up with joy. Then, as if remembering something, he opened the other 2 jade bottles as well. The inside of the bottles was also filled with the same strong fragrance of medicinal pills. However, the medicinal pills in the 3 bottles were clearly different. Nonetheless, they were all useful for his current cultivation. Tu Chun's Green Hill Fox clan was also a relatively large demon clan in the western wilderness. There were Dharma adepts in the clan. Tu Chun himself had a high status in the Sand Fox clan, so he was naturally knowledgeable. No matter from which aspect, these 3 elixirs were of the best quality among elixirs of the same kind. They must have been made by a famous human alchemist. However, this knowledge did not mean that Tu Chun's cultivation resources were also sufficient. As a demon cultivator in the blood condensation stage, in terms of cultivation resources, Tu Chun could not compare to human cultivators of the same level. This was also an important reason why the demon race could not gain an advantage over the human race. In most cases, the elixirs of human alchemists and demon alchemists could be divided into 2 types. First, the quality was not good. The same elixir refined by a human alchemist would be 3 times more effective than the same elixir refined by a demon alchemist. Second, the quality was different. The elixirs refined by human alchemists were more meticulous, and the medicinal toxins were more cleanly dealt with fewer side effects. On the other hand, the elixirs refined by the demon race were relatively crude. The same elixir refined by a human alchemist could be consumed 10 times in a row before the medicinal effects would decrease. On the other hand, the elixirs refined by demon alchemists were not thoroughly dealt with. Usually, after consuming 7 or 8 pills, the medicinal effects of the elixirs would begin to decrease. The demon race also had alchemists, but compared to the human race, the demon race's alchemy skills were undoubtedly inferior. The reason for this was their spirituality. Chapter 762. The human race would start nurturing an alchemist from the blood refining realm. This was because humans were born with innate intelligence. They would start cultivating at the age of 4 or 5. When an apprentice broke through to the blood condensation realm, as long as they had some talent in alchemy, they would be able to become an alchemist. The monster race, on the other hand, was different. Most of the monster cultivators were muddle-headed before the blood condensation realm. Only after they advanced to the blood condensation realm would they have complete intelligence. Only when they reached the core forging realm would they be able to take human form. Therefore, most of the alchemists in the monster race would only begin to cultivate after they had advanced to the core forging stage and completely transformed into human form. However, at this time, they had already missed the best time to lay a foundation for alchemists. Moreover, they were slower than human cultivators of the same level by tens or even hundreds of years. How could their alchemy be compared to that of the human race? Of course, there was no lack of alchemy geniuses like the Woodluanyu in the monster race. There were human alchemists in the blood condensation realm that were no less talented than human alchemists. However, the chances of them appearing in the monster race was hundreds of times higher than in the human race. However, in general, the monster race was not only inferior to the human race in alchemy, but also in the number of alchemists. This directly caused the scarcity of pills in the monster race to be far greater than that of the human race. These 3 bottles of pills were enough to raise his cultivation to the next level. The little sand fox, Tu Chun, had just put the 3 bottles of pills into his storage artifact when he saw a few rays of light descending from the sky. Among them were 2 familiar figures. He called out, "Grandpa." "Father." "Humph, little brat, you actually learned to run away from home. I'll break your legs." "Alright, shut up. Chun, tell me, why did you crush the jade talisman?" The secret of the river source was actually not a secret at all. When Lu Ping and Lu Qiner were rushing towards the territory of the Pegasus clan, they met a few small monsters along the way. From them, he learned the reason why the Pegasus clan and the Koi clan were fighting for the river source. It was said that when the seventh patriarch of heaven creation came to this world, it was very coincidental. At that time, Peng Daoren, who had the highest cultivation among the seventh patriarch of heaven creation, was sparring with Zhao Daoren. The two fought for an unknown period of time. In the end, Zhao Daoren was defeated by one move and was seriously injured. However, Peng Daoren was not much better off. His jinqi was almost depleted, and in the end, the two fell from the sky and smashed into the ground of this world. Among them, Zhao Daoren landed at the place where the river source was located, creating a huge pit of unknown depth. Water directly rose from the ground and formed a huge lake. The lake made several turns in the western wilderness and finally flowed towards the central plains. Along the way, it converged with countless small tributaries and finally flowed into the North Sea. This river was the second largest river in the Central Plains, the Yulon River. The lake formed by the place where Zhao Daoren fell became the source of the Yulon River. Therefore, it was called the river source, and this lake was also called the Sacred Lake of Fallen Saints. This was because one of the seven saints of heaven creation, Zhao Daoren, had fallen from this place. Millions of kilometers away from the place where Zhao Daoren had fallen from the sky was the place where Peng Daoren had fallen from the sky. This place had also been smashed into the source of the river. A river meandered eastward, converging with countless other streams of water, passing through several cultivation worlds of the Central Plains before finally flowing into the East Sea. Whether in terms of length or volume, this river was much larger than the Yulon River. As a result, this great river was the true largest river in the Central Plains, and was known as the Nethersian River. The source of the river that the Pegasus clan and the Khoi clan were fighting over was the source of the Yulon River formed when Zhao Daoren had fallen from the sky all those years ago. It was said that the source of the river was shrouded in fog all year round, forming a natural formation within a radius of thousands of kilometers. This formation was said to have been left behind by Zhao Daoren all those years ago, and it would automatically open after a certain period of time. Only those with the serpent bloodline could enter. Cultivators with other bloodlines, even after the formation was opened, would not be able to pass through and see the Sacred Lake of Fallen Saints. The Sacred Lake of Fallen Saints contained the legacy that Zhao Daoren had left behind for his descendants. Every time it opened, it would stay open for about 5 years. During these 5 years, any cultivator who entered would basically be able to increase their cultivation by at least one level. However, this was only for cultivators below the core forging stage. Originally, when the miraculous effects of the Sacred Lake of Fallen Saints were discovered, cultivators with the serpent bloodline from all over the world, whether they were humans or monsters, all gathered here on a large scale. After all, it was a legacy left behind by Zhao Daoren, so who wouldn't want to come and explore it? However, the number of people who could enter the Sacred Lake of Fallen Saints was limited, and it was only for core forging stage cultivators. The western wilderness was too far away, so over time, fewer and fewer people went to the Sacred Lake of Fallen Saints. In the end, it was originally divided between the Tenma people of the western wilderness and the Khoi clan of the Yulon River, the two top clans with the direct bloodline of Zhao Daoren. After receiving the news that the river source was about to open, Lu Ping did not speak for a long time. Although the river source was occupied by the Tenma clan and the Khoi clan all year round, it was not that no other cultivators with the serpent bloodline would enter the river source every time it opened. It was just that these cultivators usually entered more than they came out, and most of them were killed by the cultivators of the Tenma and Khoi clans in the Sacred Lake. However, this time, Lu Ping decided to go in and investigate. Not only could the Sacred Lake of Fallen Saints improve a cultivator's cultivation by a level in 5 years, but if what Qinghu said was true, it was very likely that the people that Lu Ping killed would appear in the Sacred Lake of Fallen Saints this time. A group of Tenma galloped across the lush grassland, and the grass that had been flattened tenaciously stood up again. There were about 100 Tenma in this group, but only the 3 in the lead had a horn that was half a foot long on their foreheads, indicating that they were pure-blooded Tenma. The rest were just ordinary Tenma demons. Although most of the Tenma demons in this group were only blood condensation cultivators, and only 7 of them, including the 3 leading Tenma demons, were at the early and mid-stage core forging stage. However, as the 100 or so Tenma demons ran, they set off a ferocious aura. This was clearly a type of demon soldier formation. The demon soldier formation formed by the 7 Tenma demons at the early stage core forging stage was enough to kill a few late-stage core forging cultivators. After the Tenma demons passed through this area, the surrounding transparent void suddenly fluctuated, as if layers of gauze had been lifted up in the void. Then, Lu Ping walked out from the layers of gauze. Lu Ping's face turned solemn as he looked in the direction where the Pegasus had left, leaving only a faint layer of dust behind. Through his divine sense, he could tell that this area had been completely sealed off by the Pegasus and the Koi clan. Lu Ping turned to look. A few dozen kilometers away, a thick fog covered an area of over 1,000 kilometers in circumference. In the middle of the fog was the source of the Yulan River, sacred settling lake. Around Lake Sage was a dense network of canals, which divided the endless grassland into irregular areas. Within these small streams of water, it was the Koi demons' world. The closer they got to the source of the river, the higher the cultivation levels of the Tenma demons and the Koi demons. When Lu Ping was on the outskirts, he had only met a few blood condensation Tenma demons. Now, the Tenma demons had already reached the core forging stage, and the Tenma demons had also appeared. Lu Ping did not doubt that he would encounter Dharma demons from the Tenma demons or the Koi demons before he entered the fog. Just then, Lu Ping's expression changed. With a wave of the gauze in his hand, he once again disappeared into the air. After a while, the sound of a conversation could be heard from afar. The source of the river can only provide a chance for a core forging stage cultivator to advance quickly. In the past, although the Tenma demons and the Koi demons fought fiercely for the river, they were never so heavily guarded. It's like they're treating the river source like their own backyard. Shush, this is already the area where the 2 demons are on high alert. It's hard to say if there aren't any high-level cultivators hiding here. If they discover us, it'll be a small matter. If they ruin our sect's plans, we'll be in trouble. 5th senior brother, what's the matter? Haven't you guessed it already? In the past, although the Tenma demons and the Koi demons were domineering, they did not dare to offend the public. If they could break through their blockade, they would at least leave a third of the quota for the sacred lake. This time, it's like they're working together to monopolize the whole thing. Senior brother Wu, I've discovered a problem. This time, the 5 of us were sent by the sect to investigate the situation at the source of the river. But I just noticed that all 5 of us cultivate the blood of the Jiao. What kind of discovery is that? Do you think we can discover the situation at the source of the river from the outskirts? When the time comes, we'll definitely have to enter the fog to search for the sacred lake. If we find it, we'll be the first to enjoy the benefits and the feeling of our cultivation increasing rapidly. That's true. However, the Tenma demons and the Koi demons are not weaker than the Western Wilderness Temple. It won't be easy for us to break through the blockade of the 2 demons and enter the fog. It's not just difficult. The outskirts will definitely be personally sealed by the Dharma adepts of the 2 demons. Even if we enter the fog, there will be a fight. Only those who survive will have a chance to find the sacred lake and occupy one of the 100 quotas. 5th senior brother, why are there only 5 quotas? Senior brother Wu, how do you know so clearly? Don't forget, 3rd senior brother also has the blood of the Jiao. 100 years ago, he went in once. He told me all this. If 3rd senior brother had not advanced to the Dharma stage, I wouldn't have the chance to lead the team this time. So that's how it is. Then there's nothing wrong with it. Remember, if you can break through the blockade of the 2 demons and enter the fog, you must be careful. The fog covers a radius of 1,000 miles, and the area of the sacred lake is even smaller. Once you enter the fog, both your divine will and vision will be affected. whether you can find the sacred lake will be a problem. Furthermore, according to legend, this great matrix was set up by Jiao Daoren. Only the top 100 quotas will qualify to enter the sacred lake, so it will definitely be dangerous inside. The 5 disciples of the Western Wilderness Temple left, and Lu Ping's figure appeared from thin air. After thinking for a while, Lu Ping followed behind the 5 of them. Although a Dharma treasure was the most powerful weapon for a cultivator to unleash their own strength, the true significance of a Dharma treasure lay in the fact that after a cultivator had advanced to the Dharma stage, the divine will would be unleashed through the Dharma treasure. Only in this way could the Dharma power be unleashed to its greatest potential. The quality of each great sorcery directly affected the quality of the sorcery seed. Therefore, the higher the level of improvement of such a great sorcery seed in the future, the higher the quality of the sorcery seed condensed, and the more powerful it would be after attaining the Dharma stage in the future. However, the condensation of a great technique seed was an extremely difficult task for most Dharma adepts. Peak forging adepts often did not have the confidence to condense a great technique seed while advancing to the Dharma stage. In order not to affect their future advancement to the Dharma stage, they could only accumulate all their potential. However, after advancing to the Dharma stage, it was even more difficult for a Dharma adept to condense a great technique seed. Only under extremely harsh conditions could a great technique seed be successfully condensed. One of the ways to do so was when a Dharma adept had passed the Thunder trial and reached the mid-Dharma stage, the late Dharma stage, and the peak Dharma stage. However, these 3 chances were even slimmer than when a Dharma adept advanced to the Dharma stage. In reality, the condensation of a great technique seed was actually a vicious cycle for a Dharma adept. The more they delayed, the less likely it was to succeed. The further they delayed, the greater the gap between them and the Dharma adept who had condensed a great technique seed. The reason why Qinxue Laozu, Nanhua Laozu, and Laozu from the Willow Ocean sect, whom Lu Ping had previously fought with, was said to be the lowest of the early Dharma adepts was because these adepts had not condensed even the lowest grade of great technique seed. In times of extreme danger, they could only summon their Dharma power as their strongest attack. On the other hand, Qinxue Laozu from the Huayu sect, who had almost escaped from Guo Tianshan, Liang Tianfeng, and Chu Tiancheng, was also an early Dharma adept. Other than Qinxue Laozu being at the peak of the early Dharma stage, the most important reason was that when he had advanced to the Dharma stage, he had condensed a great technique seed and formed it into a natural technique. Although this great technique seed was only an ordinary great technique, in the hands of a Dharma adept, it was still extremely powerful. It was precisely because of this natural technique that he had broken through the encirclement of 3 Dharma adepts. Furthermore, it was only a move at the end of its tether, but it was enough to send Lu Ping flying with one blow. The difference between a Dharma adept who had condensed a great technique seed and a natural technique and a Dharma adept who had not could be described as the difference between heaven and earth. For a Dharma adept who had yet to advance to the Dharma stage, the formation of a great technique seed depended on 2 factors. The first factor was the quality of the great technique seed that was condensed, and the second factor was the quality of the golden elixir that the Dharma adept condensed after reaching the 9th stage of the core forging stage. The Dharma adept from the Pegasus clan who was chasing after Lu Ping had obviously condensed a great technique seed and formed it into a natural technique. For a Dharma adept who had formed a natural technique, the most direct way to describe his or her strength was through words. As such, no matter how nimble Lu Ping's spirit cultivation grade flying treasure was, as long as the Dharma adept from the Tenma people was certain that Lu Ping was someone who wanted to enter the sacred lake of the river source, he would be able to firmly guard the direction that was covered by the thick fog. Thus, Lu Ping would not be able to break free from the entanglement and enter the fog. The natural technique that the Tenma people had used against Lu Ping was called Ding Tian. It was a powerful great technique that had been passed down through the generations of the Tenma people. Now that the Tenma adept had condensed it into a natural technique, its power had more than doubled. Furthermore, this great mystique had been created by the ancestors of the Pegasus clan in the past, in order to unleash the power of the horn on the head of the Pegasus clan. This Dharma adept of the Pegasus clan had refined his own horn into a life Dharma treasure, making the power of this natural mystique even more powerful. Thus, when Lu Ping encountered this Dharma adept who had condensed a natural technique, the confidence and pride that Lu Ping had gained from challenging opponents of a higher level was completely shattered. All he could do now was run, and run like a dog. The autumn dew sword had been sent flying. Before the great river flows east technique could descend from the sky, it had already been smashed into the sky by the horn. How could he dare to use the essential energy single sword technique now? Furthermore, even if he did, it might not be of much use. The flying whirlwind technique was a sneak attack technique, which was not very useful against a Dharma adept who had mastered the space technique. As for the seeping water sword technique, there was no need to mention it. It was a great technique for attacking head-on battles. How could Lu Ping dare to fight head-on with this Dharma adept now? The most important problem was that the Pegasus clan was good at running, and flying was one of their talents. Lu Ping had used the ocean crossing boat several times to increase the distance between the two of them. However, after a short while, the Tenma adept had caught up with him again. Lu Ping had no choice but to give up on entering the sacred lake now. He turned around and headed deeper into the west wilderness. However, at this time, the Dharma adept of the Pegasus clan did not want to let Lu Ping go. 3 spirit cultivation level treasures, a ocean crossing boat, a cloud 5 elements robe, and a pair of flying swords were enough to tempt a Dharma adept. You can't escape. The Dharma adept of the Pegasus clan was no longer concerned about his duty. However, he saw that Lu Ping, who had been running away, had suddenly stopped and turned around. A white jade lotus had suddenly bloomed on Lu Ping's chest, its layers of petals white and flawless. Chapter 764. The Tenma people's instincts told him that something was wrong. However, he saw a white ray of light shoot out from the white jade lotus right in front of him. Lao Tzu felt his entire body stiffen. Regardless of whether it was his body, true essence, or bloodline, it could be said that apart from his spiritual sense, everything was frozen in place by the white ray of light. What a brilliant mind-focused divine art! But it was still not enough. The Heaven Pegasus cultivator's spiritual sense moved and the heaven-piercing thorn that was formed from his horn drilled into his heart space. In one fell swoop, the Heaven Pegasus cultivator immediately regained control of his body. This was the natal magical ability, the realm of verbal compliance. As long as the cultivator was not dead, the natal magical treasure could still protect its master under the control of the natal magical ability. In a battle between experts, victory and defeat could be decided by a hair's breadth. Although Lu Ping did not have the ability to defeat the Heaven Pegasus cultivator in such a short amount of time, he still had a chance to escape from the Heaven Pegasus cultivator's entanglement. A bolt of multicolored lightning descended from the sky. The rolling thunder seemed to be still brewing. The Heaven Pegasus cultivator, who had just escaped from Lu Ping's natural magic ability, finally had a trace of hesitation when he saw the 7-colored lightning descending from the sky. The 7-colored lightning is too similar to the Yuan clan's primal chaos lightning technique. Could it be a cultivator from the Yuan clan? Since when did the arrogant Yuan clan cultivators become willing to learn techniques other than lightning techniques? The Heaven Pegasus cultivator's mind twisted for a moment. However, his hand was not the least bit reckless. The heaven-piercing thorn shot up into the sky and dispersed the 7-colored lightning in one fell swoop. The heaven-piercing thorn's surface flickered with lightning, and the heaven-piercing thorn's body trembled slightly. The flickering lightning continuously dissipated, as if the heaven-piercing thorn itself was digesting the lightning through breathing. This was actually a treasure at the peak of spirit cultivation that had condensed 9 treasure restrictions. It only needed to undergo the thunder tribulation to become a first tribulation spirit treasure. Lu Ping's 2 killer moves had finally won him a moment to breathe. Without any hesitation, Lu Ping leapt into the fog. The boat sped through the fog, leaving behind a scorching trail in the air. The Tian Ma cultivator could no longer stop Lu Ping as he watched Lu Ping disappear into the fog. Suddenly, he raised his voice and asked, "Your Excellency has great skills. I am the Tenma people Ma Chenguang. May I know your name?" "Lu Xianping of the North Sea." As the light entered the fog, a voice came from afar. The spiritual ether in his body circulated faster and faster. Lu Ping could feel that there was an invisible force in the depths of the thick fog that was attracting him. Lu Ping was very familiar with this kind of throbbing. Back when he was in the space where Long Huai was in the fallen Great Archipelago, Lu Ping also had this kind of feeling. At that time, it was because of a strange blood stone that made Lu Ping's own bloodline and aptitude improve by leaps and bounds. Lu Ping activated the North Sea wave listening technique. The 8 strange flood dragons on the surface of the Jindan swam for a while, and the restlessness that originated from his bloodline immediately calmed down. Lu Ping did not hesitate to give his name when Ma Chenguang asked for his name. It was not that Lu Ping was reckless, but that Lu Ping deliberately wanted to improve his reputation in the Central Plains. With the rise of Jinling, the establishment of Central Plains factions such as the Yingshan Immortal School, and the possibility of forming an alliance with other factions in the future to build an ultra-long-distance transmission array and restore the direct connection between the Central Plains and the North Sea, Jinling needed to show its strength in the Central Plains and gain a higher reputation. This reputation could only be achieved by the most outstanding cultivators of Jinling. This time, Lu Ping used the opportunity of fulfilling his promise to Qinghu to travel the Central Plains. Guotian Shan Laozu had once instructed Lu Ping to not only do it for himself, but also to gain the reputation of Jinling. Guotian Shan Laozu naturally knew that Jinling, who was born in the barren North Sea, would not be looked up to by the factions of Central Plains in the beginning. Jinling's reputation was not supported by Lu Ping alone, but if there was anyone who could win the most reputation for Jinling, it would undoubtedly be Lu Ping. But when the cultivator of the Pegasus Dharma characteristic who was fighting him said that his name was Ma Chenguang, Lu Ping's heart could not help but sink. This time, he had promised Qinghu that he would kill a cultivator of the Pegasus clan, who was also the culprit behind the destruction of the Qinghu clan. His name was Ma Chenxi. Ma Chenyang, Ma Chenshuang, Ma Chengwang, Ma Chenxi, and Ma Chenliang were the 5 children of Ma Zhen, the patriarch of the Pegasus clan. Moreover, these 5 children of Ma Zhen were quite diligent in cultivation. In addition to their own efforts, with the top bloodline inheritance of the Pegasus clan and the strong support of the Pegasus clan, the strength of these 5 siblings belonged to the top among the cultivators of the same level. Among them, Ma Zhen's first 3 sons and daughters had already advanced to the Dharma characteristic stage. Ma Chenguang, who had fought with Lu Ping, had also condensed his own special ability seed. Lu Ping did not know if the other 2 were the same. On the other hand, Lu Ping's target, Ma Chenxi, was already at the 9th level of the core forging stage. This time, he entered the sacred lake to borrow the power of the 5 years of cultivation in the lake to refine the spiritual object in one go, pushing his cultivation to the peak of the core forging stage and forming a high-grade golden core. But now, Lu Ping did not know if Ma Chenxi had already entered the fog. After all, the information that Qinghu had given him was from decades ago. Decades ago, Ma Chenguang had not yet advanced to the Dharma characteristic stage. Now, not only had Ma Chenguang advanced to the Dharma characteristic stage, but he had also just beaten Lu Ping until he could not fight back. Lu Ping frowned as he observed the blurred vision around him. Legend had it that the fog here was gathered because of the formation that Jiao Daoren had set up in the past. Lu Ping immediately discovered that this fog could not only obscure one's vision, but it could also greatly reduce the range of a cultivator's divine sense. A strange light flickered in Lu Ping's eyes, then he calmed down. However, there was an additional trace of discouragement in his eyes. Clearly, the effect of the true pupils of the three pure ones had been greatly reduced. Although he could see a few more feet, it was only a drop in the bucket. Lu Ping calmed down and pondered for a moment. Then, he resolutely and carefully walked towards the depths of the fog. Whether it was the legend of Jiao Daoren at the source of the river, or the throbbing that came from the depths of his bloodline, Lu Ping had no choice but to investigate. However, before Lu Ping could go too far, a sharp beam of light slashed towards Lu Ping from the side. Lu Ping seemed to have noticed it long ago. He fused the water control flag with his astral energy to instantly shatter the incoming beam of light. Immediately after that, the fated person in Autumn Sword flew towards the incoming beam of light. A grunt rang out from over 10 zhang away. When the fated person in Autumn Sword flew back, there was a bloody mark on it. Clearly, the flying chain slash had succeeded. However, Lu Ping did not continue to attack. Instead, he strode towards the source of the slash. There was only a pool of blood on the ground. As for the person who attacked Lu Ping earlier, he had long since left. It would appear that this place was also very dangerous and filled with killing intent. After all, only 100 cultivators could enter Sacred Fall Lake, where the river source was located. The other cultivators who had broken through the defenses of the Pegasus clan and Koi clan, as well as the greater number of cultivators from the Pegasus clan and Koi clan, numbered far more than 100. As such, before Sacred Fall Lake opened, this foggy area, which covered a radius of 500 kilometers, would definitely become a place of slaughter. At that moment, the cultivators from the Pegasus clan who were entering the fog received a message from the third prince, Ma Chengwang. When the fourth prince, Ma Chenxi, heard the news, he impatiently rushed into the fog. Chapter 765. Lu Ping had already released Samling. The green sea snake was the same as the Tenma people, the Koi carp tribe, and the primordial giant crocodile tribe. They were all direct descendants of the Jiao bloodline. Since the Koi carp tribe and the Pegasus tribe valued the source of the river so much, Lu Ping would naturally release Samling to see what was going on. Did the three of you notice anything strange in the thick fog? Lu Ping believed that the reason why his bloodline could feel such a strong attraction was because of the Jiao bloodline. Therefore, the green sea snake, who was also a direct descendant of Jiao Daoren like the Tenma people and the Koi carp tribe, should feel a stronger attraction than him. However, Samling kept shaking his head. Obviously, the three of them did not feel anything strange in their bloodline. This made Lu Ping confused. Lu Ping opened the space portal of the Golden House and wanted to release Lu Qiner. However, Lu Qiner did not dare to come out. Lu Ping asked why, but Lu Qiner only said that there was something in the thick fog that she was afraid of. Lu Ping tried to release Lu Dugue and Lu Debao, but the two of them were also hiding in the space. No matter how Lu Ping summoned them, they did not dare to come out. Lu Ping asked why, but they could not tell him the reason. It seemed that it was a kind of intuition, a kind of instinct that originated from monsters, that allowed them to sense the hidden threat in the thick fog. There was no turning back now. Just as Lu Ping injured the hidden opponent and rushed to his hiding spot, his divine sense suddenly changed. It was as if the surrounding scenery had completely changed. Lu Ping moved forward in the direction he came from, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't find his way out of the fog-shrouded area. If it was a blessing, it wouldn't be a disaster, and if it was a disaster, he couldn't avoid it. Lu Ping pondered for a moment, then immediately got up and walked in the direction of the temptation in his bloodline. Through the compressed divine sense, Lu Ping could only detect a radius of more than 100 feet. However, when he walked in the direction of the invisible temptation, Lu Ping found that he was not walking in a straight line towards the depths of the thick fog. Instead, he was going left, then back. A moment ago, he was still going forward, but a moment later, he was going right. This made Lu Ping unable to tell which direction he was going. Although Lu Ping had many doubts, he still followed this mysterious feeling. He suspected that he was going in the right direction, because he was not going in the wrong direction. It was because he was hiding in the thick fog that he could not tell which direction he was going. Although he seemed to be running around like a headless fly, Lu Ping might really have taken a shortcut. This time, Lu Ping naturally did a lot of research on the river source array. Every time the river source array opened, the fog array would open a month in advance. After entering the fog array, the cultivators must find the sacred fall lake where the river source was located within a month. Otherwise, the cultivators would lose the qualification to enter the sacred fall lake. They could only stay in the fog array for 4 to 5 years, and then wait for the cultivators who entered the sacred fall lake to finish their seclusion before the fog array was reopened. This 1-month period was actually a test for cultivators. After entering the fog formation, due to the obstruction of spiritual sense and vision, cultivators would often encounter each other abruptly, resulting in a battle. Unlike before, cultivators could use spiritual sense and visual abilities to avoid each other. In such a battle, once one side was defeated, due to the close distance, they would often not be able to escape even if they wanted to. Lu Ping moved forward for about an hour before he finally noticed some movement in front of him. He immediately stopped. Samling, who was following behind Lu Ping, transformed into 3 small snakes that were 3 feet long. They slithered around Lu Ping's feet, but they did not dare to go too far away from Lu Ping. Otherwise, they would not know how the array would work, and they would lose contact with Lu Ping. The aura on Samling's body rapidly decreased under Lu Ping's divine sense. This surprised Lu Ping. He did not expect Samling to have such a brilliant method of concealing his tracks. This method was similar to a skill similar to hibernation to Lu Ping. It reduced the aura of the body's life to the minimum. The only difference was that Samling still maintained a clear mind and fast attack power. Green light shone from Lu Ping's eyes. He could already see a vague shadow more than 30 feet away. His divine sense could also detect that the other party's cultivation was around the 9th stage of the core forging realm. The other party seemed to be very cautious, ready to deal with any sudden changes in the fog. Lu Ping had clearly noticed him first. Under such circumstances, it would not be difficult for Lu Ping to launch a sneak attack and heavily injure him. However, killing him in one blow would not be easy. Even if he could not kill him in one blow, as long as the other party still had the strength to activate a simple escape technique and run more than 30 feet away, due to the array, Lu Ping would not be able to find him again. Lu Ping moved his fingers slightly and the blue netherwater sword circled around Lu Ping's body like a ghost. Then, Lu Ping made a hand seal and the netherwater sword immediately disappeared into the thick fog. This was the best time for the netherwater sword to shine. It was also the best time for the shapeless sword technique to be amplified to the extreme. At this time, the other cultivator seemed to have noticed something. He had already stopped in his tracks and stood there quietly, as if sensing something. However, none of his various perception-type magic techniques could detect anything strange. However, his intuition, honed by years of life and death situations, told him that danger was approaching. The cultivator patted his chest and a bronze bell appeared before him. Immediately, a yellow light began to gather within the bronze bell. The bronze bell then slowly rose up from the top of the cultivator's head. Once the yellow light descended, it would be able to protect the cultivator completely. That way, it would be difficult for the netherwater sword to launch another sneak attack on the cultivator. Lu Ping's eyes lit up. This was a pure spirit nurturing grade defensive magic treasure. This was a Debao shell. Although Lu Ping also had a spirit nurturing grade cloud light 5 elemental robe, this magic treasure had many different functions. Although its defensive power was quite good, it was still weakened by its other functions. Furthermore, the Cloudlight 5 elemental robe was regarded by Lu Tianling and Laozu as an inheritance token of the Zhonghua lineage, so it could not be owned by Lu Ping. Lu Ping had always wanted to find a suitable defensive magic treasure, but it was not easy to find a spirit-nurturing grade defensive magic treasure. Lu Ping had originally wanted to repair the water-controlling flag and restore its glory when it was in Zhao Yuqiang's hands. However, this hope was somewhat remote. The materials used to refine the water-controlling flag were extremely rare. Even now, Chen Lian had not figured out what kind of materials were used to refine the flag. Furthermore, the refining method of the water-controlling flag was extremely unique. Even if he found the materials and managed to repair it, there would be no way for him to improve the water-controlling flag in the future. Lu Ping narrowed his eyes. Before the brass bell's yellow light descended, he formed a sword seal with his hand and abruptly sent it forward. Seeing that, the cultivator on the other side could finally sense an undercurrent surging before him. Not good, the cultivator hastily mobilized the brass bell above his head. At the same time, he attempted to retreat. However, it was too late. The Netheraqua sword, which was slowly making its way towards the cultivator, did not give him the chance to do so. The sword stabbed into the cultivator's heart. Next, with a twist, the core space shattered. Lu Ping's expression changed and he quickly dashed towards the cultivator. But then, he saw a golden core suddenly fly out from the heart's core space that was pierced by the water nether sword. The copper bell above his head shone with a yellow light, protecting the golden core as it flew deeper into the fog. The fated autumn sword spun and unleashed a series of killer attacks. The Western Wilderness Palace was a large, established force like the Supreme Mystery Sect in the plain cultivation world. Just like the Yingtian sect in the past, the Western Wilderness Palace established their sect at the border between the Central Plains and the outer regions, as if they were hiding from something. Including the Supreme Mystery Sect, which established their sect at the mouth of the Yulon River on the edge of the plain cultivation world, it seemed that these large, established forces were giving up the hinterland of the Central Plains. Chapter 766. Lu Ping walked through the fog for 3 days, and the throbbing in his blood became more and more intense. He was getting closer and closer to his destination. In these 3 days, Lu Ping finally understood why every time the river source opened, there would be heavy casualties among the cultivators heading to Sacred Lake of the Fallen Stars, but it still couldn't stop the endless stream of core forging realm cultivators from heading there. He had heard from the rumors that the reason was that many cultivators were competing for the 100 spots to enter the Sacred Lake. Now, Lu Ping finally understood that the fundamental reason was not this. Spending 4 to 5 years would definitely be able to improve one's cultivation by at least 1 level. Although the temptation was great, if cultivators had other fortuitous encounters, they might be able to improve their cultivation by 1 level in 4 to 5 years. There was no need to fight to the death for the 100 spots. But now, Lu Ping knew that because the Sacred Lake was an inevitability for cultivation advancement, most of the cultivators who came to the Sacred Lake to compete for the 100 spots had reached a bottleneck in their cultivation and could not break through. Just like the cultivator from the Western Wilderness Palace who died in the hands of Lu Ping, they wanted to break through the bottleneck of the 9th level of core forging and achieve a high-grade gold core to pave the way to the Dharma manifestation stage in the future. However, this bottleneck was tantamount to a moat for many cultivators. Many cultivators were blocked at this last step and could not advance an inch, and the Sacred Lake became their last hope for a breakthrough at this time. However, when they entered the fog array, they discovered that there were so many competitors. Moreover, in order to break through the bottleneck, almost everyone had brought all their belongings with them. Every one of them was a group of fat sheep that could not be fatter. As long as they killed one of them, they would be able to obtain almost all the cultivation resources that the cultivator had collected in his lifetime. Was there anything easier than this in the cultivation world? The naked temptation made every opening of the river source a bloody hunting game. Only the strongest and the most cunning could survive and enjoy the legacy left behind by Zhao Daoren. In just 3 short days, Lu Ping ambushed his opponents 4 times and successfully killed them twice. He was ambushed 3 times, and Lu Ping took advantage of the situation to counterattack. One of his opponents was killed by Lu Ping, another escaped with heavy injuries, and the last one was much more cunning. After missing his ambush, he immediately fled 1,000 miles away. The strength of these 3 people was not below that of the Western Wilderness Palace disciple who had died at the hands of Lu Ping. In fact, they were much stronger than that person. If this cultivator really wanted to smelt these 2 different spiritual items of the same element, then it meant that this cultivator had already given up hope that he would be able to survive the thunder trial and advance to the mid-dharma stage in the future. In addition to the 3 heaven-level spiritual items, Lu Ping also obtained a spirit-nurturing treasure from the level 8 core forging stage cultivator. The 2 level 9 core forging stage cultivators did not have a spirit-nurturing treasure. In fact, among the people Lu Ping had killed, the level 8 core forging stage cultivator was the strongest. This spirit-nurturing treasure was a pearl that emitted a special kind of flame. Lu Ping examined it carefully. This flame was not a spiritual fire, nor was it a special kind of fire. It seemed to be a special kind of fire that had been smelted using a special method, and this pearl was the carrier of this special fire. This spirit-nurturing treasure reminded Lu Ping of the 7-colored flame that Mei Tianqin and Laozu had cultivated. It was also a special kind of fire formed by the fusion of a few spiritual fires. However, this kind of fire was still a spiritual fire, and it was a mid-grade heaven-level fire. This kind of fire had lost all of its spirituality, but the power of this kind of fire was no less than a mid-grade heaven-level spiritual fire. After letting the 7-gem thunder calabash swallow the 2 mid-grade spiritual items, Lu Ping took the high-grade spirit stones, supreme-grade spirit stones, and some spiritual herbs that caught his eye. Then, he threw the 3 storage treasures into the golden house for Debao to deal with. At this time, Lu Ping suddenly felt that the surrounding fog array had begun to change. Just when Lu Ping was confused, his eyes suddenly lit up. He had actually walked out of the fog array and arrived at a flat area with lush water and grass. Lu Ping's divine sense moved and found that his divine sense was like a flood that had been released. With Lu Ping as the center, it suddenly flooded an area with a radius of more than 10 kilometers. The violent divine sense fluctuations brought about a gust of wind that swept out in all directions. Lu Ping was unable to rein in his divine sense in time. Thus, he could only allow his divine sense to wreak havoc. Next, however, he abruptly turned to look at a spot 2 to 3 li away to his right. There, he saw a cultivator with a look of ridicule on his face. However, there was a look of fear in his eyes. When the cultivator saw Lu Ping walk out from the fog array, he habitually spread his divine sense out, wanting to watch Lu Ping make a fool of himself. In the end, Lu Ping was indeed unable to rein in his divine sense in time and ended up making a fool of himself. However, in the face of Lu Ping's formidable divine sense, the cultivator could not find it funny at all. A chilling light flashed across Lu Ping's eyes and he turned to look in several other directions. There were cultivators who had emerged from the fog array earlier and were waiting at the edges of the fog array. Additionally, when Lu Ping emerged from the fog array, all of them had turned their divine senses and gazes towards Lu Ping. Naturally, they had personally experienced the storm that Lu Ping's divine sense had brought about. The cultivators had originally planned on using their own divine sense to attack the moment Lu Ping's divine sense went out of control. However, the moment Lu Ping's divine sense went out of control, the situation took a sharp turn for the worse. The storm was simply too violent. Even though they wanted to add fuel to the fire, they had to first sit back and watch. Lu Ping cast a cold glance at them. The faces of the 2 cultivators closest to Lu Ping flickered. In the end, they stood up and moved further away from Lu Ping. They were using this show of weakness to express their apologies towards Lu Ping and their respect towards the strong. Lu Ping noticed that the cultivators who had emerged from the fog array did not move too far away from the fog array. Instead, they sat cross-legged with their backs against the fog array to cultivate themselves. Lu Ping's divine sense quickly sensed that there was an invisible wall tens of li away from them, blocking off his surging divine sense. The invisible wall stretched far into the distance to form a large isolation zone in the center of the fog array. Lu Ping and the other cultivators who had emerged from the fog array could only move about within the isolation zone. The reason why the cultivators were resting with their backs against the fog array was because they were fearful of being ambushed by others while moving about. Should someone have ill intentions, the cultivators could simply roll backwards and hide within the fog array. The space within the fog array was very peculiar. Lu Ping was simply incapable of getting his bearings. Once he entered the fog array, he would not even know where he was. 3 more days went by and the number of cultivators emerging from the fog array grew. Using his divine sense, Lu Ping could sense that there were 20 to 30 late-stage core establishment cultivators gathered within a radius of tens of li. Even further away, Lu Ping's divine sense could sense an unknown number of cultivators emerging from the fog array. At the edge of the fog array, 7 to 8 li away from Lu Ping, the thick fog roiled and 4 cultivators emerged together. "Oh, we're finally out. Fifth senior brother, it seems we are not too late. The cultivators in the fog array have yet to make a move. It seems the array wall has yet to disappear. Everyone is still waiting within the isolation zone." Of course not. The inside of the fog array is a special space that does not differentiate between directions. In the world of cultivation, even the fastest cultivator to emerge from the fog array took 5 days to do so. We have only used 6 days in total. Compared to everyone here, we are already the fastest. Additionally, the fog array only activated 20 days ago. At present, we still have to wait for 10 more days before the invisible array wall will disappear. When that time comes, we will be able to head to the central area to find Sacred Lake Fall. The 4 cultivators who emerged from the thick fog were none other than the cultivators from the Western Desolation Palace that Lu Ping had encountered earlier. However, one of them had been killed by the Koi clan when he charged into the fog array. Thus, there were only 4 of them left. Lu Ping pondered the conversation between the 4 of them. Even the fastest cultivator to make it through the fog array would take at least 5 days. However, he had only used 3 days to get out. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.